Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. This is the second main event tonight we have on BWTM Sports. First, we've had Dean Edwards, the assistant trainer and the manager of Jamie Cox, who's in that big fight in the weekend against George Groves. Of course, many of you would say, well, you know, he's going to big his fighter up because he's managing him. But I've known Dean for many years. He's one of the most straight-talking characters in the sport of boxing, and they always seem to come across straight-talking guys. So he's admitted himself he's been a bit too straight-talking at times and has lost fighters in the process. Now we have in the ring with us a good friend to the show, Chris Mason from the world of darts and boxing. Chris, how are we doing?
Really good, mate. Great to be back on.
Thank you very much.
And you're right. He was great value for money, wasn't he? He's straight from the hip, no BS, and told it how it is. That's how it should be. It was a great interview.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. For those people who don't know who you are, and I have to do it, can you just give us a quick overview as to who you are?
Well, most people wouldn't know me from Twitter. No, I'm joking. I used to be a professional dart player, reasonably successful, won a few ranking tournaments, semi-finals of the Worlds a few times, semi-finals of the Masters, semi-finals of the match play, and then my career sort of went from there into the media side of it. Now I work for ITV, Eurosport, Channel 4, anybody that does the darts except Sky. I don't do anything with Sky. I don't even have the volume up when I watch their boxing. That's pretty much it. I come from a bit of a boxing background. I had 26 amateur fight. Wasn't very good. Did a bit of sparring, a bit of bare knuckle boxing. Worked the doors for a few years, and it's predominantly my favourite sport.
Okay, great, Chris, to have you back on the show. First of all, I have to say, and this is a big have to say, hashtag have to say. Often when I do, I would say 80% of the interviews I do with people, you know, I do the interviews and they don't share the interviews out, whether they don't think it's a good interview, whether they just haven't got the savvy or the understanding that when you do an interview, it's to sell what you do, your product, or to let people know a bit more about you. I don't get it. Why do an interview? But you, as soon as you did the interview the day after, you were right on it. I was actually pleasantly surprised how you presented it and promoted it. I said, "Yeah, this is a guy that knows what he's doing." Not because you promoted it and you sold yourself in that way, but because there was a link between doing the interview and then letting your followers know exactly what was going on. Why did you do that?
Well, I don't know. It's almost a responsibility. We sort of sing from the same hymn sheet. We know how tough the industry is, and you only got to look at other people doing the same thing as what you do. Look where IFL TV started from. You know what I mean? It's little acorns turn into oak trees, and it's a tough business. So for me, if people give me a platform to speak on, especially with boxing, it's something I'm quite passionate about, as I am darts, then I think you have a responsibility if you're in that industry to not only promote the people who are helping to promote you, but to promote them also. It goes hand in hand. I mean, I had a thing on Twitter the other day. If I'm doing an exhibition, I'm working in Bradford next Thursday on a big show for MJK events. I won't only promote that event. There's another event that I'm not involved in, and it's a promoter I've worked for, and they'll retweet events that I'm taking part in. I retweet theirs. It's just, it's almost courtesy, but it's common sense. It's social media now is a huge platform for all of us. You look at some of the megastars that have millions of followers. The sad thing is the majority of them don't interact with fans or people. They're there just to sell a product, where I think we're more about promoting a product and giving everybody opportunity. As we see on your channel, everybody puts questions in, they get a chance to interact with some mega names you've had. You have Peter Bury and Stivern, and you've got some great names on there, and they get their chance to interact with them, and I think that's a great opportunity and something that we all should embrace.
I think most people get the idea of why people are on the channel and giving the opportunity to talk to people and having that interaction, and that is the purpose of it. Unfortunately, there are other people that see as, because I've got something on my channel, I'm affiliated them to the point where I'm brown nosing, I'm kissing their ass, I'm playing up to them. Can you explain that to some people, because that needs to be broken down?
Yeah, I think. Listen, if you said to me, there's a way and a means of doing everything. You know, I mean, Twitter for me. If someone doesn't agree with me and they're courteous and they explain their reason behind it, I'm perfectly courteous back. But that ability now to communicate with each other in an almost sensible way is lost because they're hid behind the keyboard and they don't think there's any repercussions from it. Well, probably there's not, but as we've seen from Curtis Woodhouse, you know what I mean? You never knew who's going to knock on your door. So yeah, I think it's just sort of you're there. You're giving someone the opportunity who is interested in boxing or other sports. I know that you do, cricket and whatnot.
Yes.
And it's not a case of brown nosing, but you're not going to get someone on your show and abuse them. Although if I said something that was either out of line or out of context or didn't make sense, then, as you know, we've spoken many times, you would say, hang on, Chris, I don't think that was right, or this happened. And,
yeah.
That's just the way it goes. It's, what's the point of having someone on that you might want to have on again and then just giving them, I've been on a few live broadcasts where, well, honestly, I wouldn't go back on them because, there was no, we didn't feed off each other. There was no understanding about the reason why we were both doing it. So it's, I think it's just one of those things. A lot of it, the green-eyed monster has a lot to say for itself.
The green-eyed monster. I like that. It's one-eyed or two-eyed?
Yeah, three-eyed.
Three-eyed. I mean, like, there's that balance between. I don't like using the word interview. I hate the word interview. When I think interview, I think job, applying for job. I don't see it as an interview. It's a conversation between two people and trying to find out what that person's about, why they tick the way they do, why they think the way they do. And at times, if I can learn of that person and maybe elevate my mind to another level so I can understand more about the sport I talk about or learn about sports I don't know things about. So that's where I kind of look at it as a conversation. I only use the word interview because it's like people can relate to that. When you say it's a talk, people kind of get dismissive. But when you say interview, people kind of get awakened by that. If I say the word debate, debate means argue, fight, insult, downgrade, dismiss. And the world, the society we're in today is very quick to dismiss somebody, very dismissive. He's a bum, he's useless. It's very dismissive. And even if somebody who's been... Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally get that. I did, as you've seen, I did an interview with Chris Eubank Jr. and Chris Eubank Sr. And the one I feared most about, as you say, the terrible interview, which again I agree, I don't like that. And I before I spoke to him, I had about 30 seconds to say, listen, I'm not going to ask you the same old generic questions. This isn't an interview. I want to get some out of you. That I stood there all day. I was one of the last to get a chance to speak to both of them, and I listened to everybody else asking the same old things over and over and over. Where Junior was almost impossible to break down and have a conversation with, where Senior was superb. And I explained to him that I tried to sort of, from my point of view, explain into how with Chris Eubank and the way Junior, the way he is in training camp and the way he is with Ronnie Davis, the fact that to me it looks like he actually knows a lot more about boxing than he lets on, and it's almost like he's taking little bits of his favourite fighter and he's tried to mould that into one fighter. And straight after the interviews, I didn't get a chance to speak to Ronnie Davis on camera, but we had a 20-minute conversation afterwards. He said that that was great. Everything you said there was from somebody who's not just here to interview or ask questions. You wanted to find out more of where has this style evolved from. And I know he gets a lot of stick, and he is a work in progress, and he's far from the finished article. But for someone with the experience he hasn't had, very much like Conor Benn, for someone whose career is in its infancy, I think he's done very, very well.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. It's just about getting a little bit more out of somebody by not having that. Like you say, you don't brown nose anybody, but there's no point in just doing that generic thing where you're just going over old ground. Because I've been interviewed, a million times, and you get asked the same. You pretty much it's fairly repetitive. And
Yes.
to be honest, you end up then just coming up with your generic answers, which for me then is a lost opportunity.
Absolutely. We've hit the nail on the head, but let's move into another point. I wasn't going to start an interview like this, but now you've brought me into it. Let's move on with it. When people attend press conferences, why is it that the promoter in some press conferences, most of his press conferences, does the interviews? And why is it that in other press conferences, the promoter asks the question, are there any questions? And it's absolutely silent, and it's the same old journalists asking the same old questions. And yet there seems to be getting more and more people asking for media accreditation. Is it because they're getting their free fight pass so they can be there on fight night? Is it because they can just take a photograph with the mate or the guy that they like as a boxing fan, like their mate, and can take a photograph and say, hey, I got a seat in the boxing, I don't have to pay for it? Or is it the fact that a lot of the people that are in there are just not qualified to ask good questions? What is it, Chris?
All of the above. Literally all of the above. The last one I went to was Abraham and Chris Eubank Jr. in a working capacity. I have a great relationship with all of the boxing promoters. I'm very lucky. It's incredible amount of people that cross over that do. Like John Rawley, who I work with on the darts, obviously he does Box Nation and obviously did ITV and so on and so forth. Barry Jones and Frank, and obviously Eddie I've known since he was a kid, with my relationship with his father through darts and boxing, as Barry Hearn. I don't, to be honest, there's more and more kids there with one camera that are just, like I say, getting their media passes, and they're fair play, they're all trying to do the same kind of thing, but for me it needs betting down a little bit, because you're not getting if I was a promoter, I only would want the established outlets to maybe on a main press day to come in there. I wouldn't mind people in there taking pictures or making some films, and if they do get a chance to ask a couple of quick questions or whatever else. But mainly you want the right people, like Gareth Davis or whatever. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but
Yeah.
As a rule, he would generally ask the right kind of questions. But he has a media background, and he knows his onions. Where the last one I went to was like those spotty 18-year-old kids just asking the same old questions, and you could see the fighters. They were getting pissed right off with it. But they have a responsibility to sell the fight. But I think, I personally think that there's too many there, and there's too many people. So people, as you said, just trying to get their media passes to go ringside on fight night and get in for nothing. It's and I'm amazed the amount of the promoters will actually allow this to go on. Fortunately, we don't. We've got a few people that are online that do a lot of online stuff in darts, and it's great. It's fabulous. But again, that is fairly limited. Darts seems a little bit more. It's a lot harder to get access to the players in darts, which is incredible than it is in boxing.
Yes.
Like I said, there must have been 40 guys at the Abraham Eubank media day. And I only knew probably 5 or 6 sort of established, industry experts were there. The rest of them, I hardly knew who they were.
See, I've made it my point to not turn up to press conferences. I've made it my point. I've turned up to one. The last press conference I went to was Gennady Golovkin and Kell Brook. And I hadn't been to a press conference for many years. In fact, I'll tell you a very quick story. I was in Grenada. I went to Grenada for 2 years. Before I left Grenada in 2012 was Hay versus Chisora. And my first major interview was with Jim Rosenthal. Jim Rosenthal, I had, what's the other guy's name? Another commentator. And the guy from the Sun newspaper, Colin Hart. I interviewed Colin Hart.
Yeah.
Now, I went to Grenada. I came back 2014, Fury versus Chisora, the second fight. I walked into the press conference. And do you know who stopped me as I was walking into the press conference?
Go on.
Jim Rosenthal. He knew me by my name. My first name.
Well, he is some man for that. and I totally understand where you're getting from. He is a proper pro.
Then as I walked through the doors, and the press conference had finished, I turned to my left and I saw Colin Hart. Ingram, my old friend, where have you been? And I'm like, these guys knew who I was. And I think to myself, I've gone away for 2 years, and they're able to pick that out. To me, the point is that they're able to pick up and see, they are aware of what's going on in the boxing world. Just because you might not see them online, like being a troll or something, they're well aware of who's doing what in the boxing world, which was quite astounding, to be honest.
Yeah, I've met a fair few people like that within the media. Obviously, mainly that cover the darts, but the same thing. You get guys like that that are so professional, and
Yes.
like you say, they don't miss a trick, and that's why they have longevity in their industry. Matt Smith, the guy that used to do the football for ITV, and now he's sort of doing all sorts of them for all sorts of channels. He's another one. I mean, he remembers everything and everybody.
Yes.
And I've said to him, when was the last time you seen that guy? We've done about 8 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, that's just professional at your job, and that again, that's going to be something that will eventually sort of phase out. It's going to be quite sad. The next generation won't quite be as meticulous as the older type journalists who had to rely on the written word. They had to rely on column inches, where nowadays it's all about in front of camera.
Yes. Yeah.
Or on like the YouTube platforms. Although it is great, and we do get to see a lot more content, but overall, if you scan through most of it, fight predictions and stuff like that, once you watched one, you might as well, you could have watched 20.
You're absolutely right.
And within the industry now, people are almost frightened to ruffle feathers or say something controversial just because they're scared that, oh my God, I won't get my media pass, or I won't get this gig, or I won't get that. Well, for me, someone's tuning in to listen to me or listen to my opinion. If I don't tell them the truth, then why am I there? Why am I being asked a question by my presenter on a TV channel, and then I'm not going to tell the truth? I don't. And I don't. Again, we've discussed it before. It's not for me to upset anybody or tell lies. And like I say to all the players, if I ever say anything that offends you, you think I'm wrong, you come and find me and you pull me up on it. We'll talk it out. If I believe that I've been wrong and I only owe you an apology, I will do it live on air. Do you know how many times I've had to do that?
Wow. But it takes a big man to do that, though.
Yeah, well, listen, if you're wrong, you're wrong. If I feel like I've been, over the top on some criticism, I don't criticize. I examine them. I examine why, like you've done it with fighters. There's fighters you've tipped up to win and they've lost, but rather than sort of make a claim that, he was robbed or anything, you got it wrong.
Yeah.
You called it wrong. He didn't carry out the game plan, what I think he should have done, or, there's always an answer and not necessarily an excuse.
Exactly.
And I prefer to go down that line. I can't see the point in, life's too short for bullshit, and there's so much bullshit on TV nowadays that, I can't listen to it. I mean, listening to Frotch and Adam Smith the other night, what Adam Smith is doing in the boxing world, I do not know. But if you look generally now at their staff, it's piss poor. Some of these women now that they've got presented, they're eye candy and they might look good, but they don't know what they're talking about. So why are they on there?
Mouth watering. Mouth watering.
You want quality.
Mouth watering. That's why.
Yeah.
It's mouth watering stuff.
Yeah, and then when they have something controversial, they'll avoid it. They'll sidestep it. We had it in darts the other night. It looked like Gurney shoulder barred Simon Whitlock in the final. And the internet Twitter was melting down. They had an opportunity to examine it and probe. And oh my God, we got to avoid that. If someone in boxing says shit at 10:30 at night after we've just watched two blokes beat each other's brains in, they go, "Oh, sorry about the language." What the fuck is that all about? Please, we've just watched two men try and decapitate each other, and a fighter turns around and says bollocks or piss or shit, and it's almost like it's the biggest crime on television. I just don't get why they treat us so pathetically.
Well, I'm going to reveal something that I've never revealed before, but I will say this. I was at a press conference, a very heated press conference. It was Fury versus maybe not say that. I was at a press conference, and at this particular press conference, I was told on no uncertain terms not to ask any questions. Do not ask any questions.
Great.
But guess what happened? The microphone was passed in my direction, and I asked a question. And I asked the question, and the person who was the superior in the room, I looked him in the eye when I asked the question. And my point of doing it was not to antagonize the person who told me not to ask questions. The person said, if you ask a question, there's a possibility you could start a fight off in this arena. And I'm like, what? I said, my job is to ask questions. Yeah. You don't tell me how to do my job, and I certainly won't want to tell you how to do your job. So I asked the question. So the thing is, what is the point of going to a press conference with a media accreditation to go and ask questions and then being told you can't ask questions, or you can't ask questions that are going to stir up certain answers? What is the point? What is the point?
Exactly what you're saying. I've heard of people that have been to press conferences like yourself, and they've had to they've had to have their questions vetted before they're allowed to ask them. They get told, you can't ask that, or you can't ask this, you can't ask that. Which is, listen, obviously I've got a past, as everyone knows. I mean, how much of it's factual is those that know. But you still get that thing, and the media plays a terrible part in that, especially the newspapers. And now there's so much written, very much like young Jamie Cox. There was a guy, and they go, he beat his girlfriend up. No, he never. No, he never beat his girlfriend up. Did they have a domestic? Yes, they did. Was he wrong to threaten his girlfriend? Absolutely. He was put in prison. The charges were dropped. He was released. He never recharged. But that's not news, because then everybody that claimed that he did this, that, and the other to his girlfriend, and now got to go, damn, I was wrong. And no one likes being wrong.
I'm glad you slipped that in, because there's a lot of talk about Jamie Cox and talking about his past and focusing on that.
If he's had a straightener down the pub, right? So what? But the only reason it's news is probably because some mousy prick full of ale has opened his mouth to the wrong person and got put on his ass. Anybody else, that happens every Saturday night. I work the door every Saturday night in every town, in every nightclub, and it's not news. But because he's, sort of like famous, or, someone within sport, all of a sudden he's getting examined over it. It's like this guy, the cricketer, right?
Yes.
I watched that. I know people, that was in my hometown in Bristol, right? This guy, one of these guys said he had a knife, the other one said he was going to stab one of his mates. All right. At the end, he went a bit over the top, but again, if that was anybody else, we'd be patting him on the back. If that was in America, right, he'd be a hero. In this country, we just seem to, oh my God, I can't believe he's done that. Well, it's one of them. I don't understand why we got to pile on them and make all these claims. Well, most of the people that should be exposed by the media running around noncing kids, that seems to, that sort of gets sort of brushed under the carpet.
Absolutely.
I just don't. The media's part in all that. It's a strange old thing.
Well, it goes to the old saying, not only an old boys club, but doing other people favors. At the end of the day, I'm not going to go in. Well, not me per se, but the idea of a lot of these youngsters doing these interviews, they're going to do these interviews because they want to get on the right side of the promoter. I know one guy in particular that he couldn't put two words together. Before I started working and coaching him. Now he does his interviews, and before he'd ring me all the time and talk. Now he doesn't even want to know me. Doesn't even want to talk to me, because he's affiliated himself with a promoter, and he's having to be a good boy now to get to all the interviews. And I couldn't give a rat's ass about it, to be honest. I said, if I want to do an interview with somebody, I'll get the interview. I don't have to go to a press conference to do an interview. They'll ring me, or I'll ring them, and that's how it's done. But I'm not gonna kiss ass just to make sure everything's okay. That means you're going to interview everybody the same way. You're going to get the same replies as everybody else. And the reason why they're generic is because the person that's engineering those questions are trying to fit in line with everybody else. So they're not rocking the boat. So how do you expect to get anything different if you're doing the same thing? Trying to do the same thing, expecting different results is insanity. Is it not?
Yeah, exactly that. Like when we do the darts and then we get someone into the studio, I'm not going to go, how was the game? How did it do? I'm going to pick out 3 or 4 pivotal moments. If there was a moment where it looked like, one player rattled the other, or there was a moment he looked frustrated, I want to examine that. I want to probe that, because that's what viewers are interested in, especially with sport. If you're an amateur boxer, or you're thinking about being a boxer, or you're thinking about being a dart player, you want to know what makes them tick.
Absolutely.
I don't want to know, what was your training camp like? Oh, how did that go? Oh, God, bore off. There's loads of it already on the internet. What happened? Did you knock him out in sparring? What was that spat all about? Is there genuine dislike, or is it all just a hype? I want some nuts and bolts. I don't want, well, there's enough BS out there anyway to go around. We want to find out the truth.
If we going back to the Sky Sports and particularly the boxing, the commentating, I blame fans are just as much responsible as the commentators, because if the fans continue to support the nonsense that goes on and continues to elevate and worship these people that are on television and not pull them up and say, listen, your commentating's biased. Listen, what you're saying does not add up to what's going on. Listen, this fight is not scored. How are you scoring this guy up by 8 rounds? I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. But I'm understanding that you're saying it because he's your mate. How can you be honestly commentating from a non-biased perspective if it's your brother that's boxing, or your gym mate? You're sparring with him every week. How the hell can you sit down and say, oh, you know what the other guy's going to do? You can't do that, because all you're focused on is your mate that's sparring, or your mate is in the fight. So he's obviously going to say things that are going to be complimentary about the guy that's fighting. That's his brother, or his cousin, or his best mate, or he's married to his best mates. That is a conflict of interest. So how the hell?
And
Go ahead.
I'll give you a perfect example.
Yes.
Adam Smith, right? He's head of boxing.
Yes.
He hires, he fires, right?
Yes.
Everybody, not one person who's wrapped around him, excuse me, will turn around and say to him, listen, you're talking shit. You're absolutely talking shit. You can't read a fight. You don't understand. Listen, you might be an historian, you might have great knowledge, but that's all learned stuff. That's all stuff you get from reading and doing research, right? That don't put you in a position to be head of the head of commentary on a big fight. And he's now delusional. He now thinks, because no one tells him he's talking shit, he thinks now everything he says is, and it's not. He don't know how to score a fight. He don't know how to interpret a fight. He doesn't understand the basics, and he just talks shit. And yet, because he's head of boxing, everybody around him goes, oh yes, Adam. Oh no, Adam. So you're exactly right what you're saying, and you're getting that in a lot of sport. You're getting a lot of people now that have come from other backgrounds. I'm not saying you've got to be a boxer to be a great boxing commentator. I'm not saying you have to be a great fighter to be a great coach. Yeah. Right? Yes, it's Sam. Or people always pick out these examples, or Manny Stewart, or Customar, or they were all great trainers, right? Yeah. Years ago.
Yes.
Years ago. You know what I mean? I can't have the fact that, even if you not necessarily box, but maybe sparred or spent a few years in a gym around boxers, you get the feel of it, you get the understanding of it. Not coming from a public school and, born with a silver spoon in your mouth and don't understand the pain these guys go through and the risk they go through. To then sit with a mic in your hand and mug people off. I just don't, as a rule, listen, John Rawling has never boxed, right? But has a total understanding, and he's always learning, and he respects it. And he comes from a huge media training background, So his commentary is, I think him and Barry Jones work perfectly, right?
Yes.
Because you've got the guy who totally understands the insides and outsides that will give you the information about what's going inside the ring, and John Rawling will explain what's going on from his point of view.
Yes.
And I think that works perfectly. But you got to remember, John worked with Darky, he worked with Glenn McCord. He's worked with some amazing broadcasters.
He's fantastic.
And he's learned his trade. 30 years of learning his trade. Yeah. So you can't have nothing but respect for him. But me personally, I Frotch and Adam Smith the other night, and they realised they dropped the ball. They were trying to give Burns or Crawler the last round or something. They realised if they did that, it would have ended up a draw. I mean, what were they watching? And again, as a rule, I will generally, if I can watch fights late at night and they're on Sky, I'll try and find an HBO feed or I'll watch it on another platform, so I don't have to listen to them.
You need to tune into our commentary. You need to turn into a commentary, Chris.
Yeah. I started doing that, but I definitely will. Yeah, because it's just frustrating. As a fight fan, it's important. The commentary is massively important. It's part of the package. It's part of the deal. I feel I want to, but I want people's opinion that I value. I want expert analysis. That's what we're meant to be getting. And majority of the time, unfortunately, in boxing, we don't get it. And it's not just in this country. There's that Smith geezer from America, Stephen
H. He's terrible.
I mean, why is he even in? I just don't get it. I just don't. And then he has the cheek to argue with somebody like Teddy Atlas, or I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute, and he just doesn't seem to have respect for anybody else's opinion who spend their life's work in boxing. They're the people I want to listen to.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I think Stephen in America, I think Stephen A. Smith is just there to antagonize people. That's what I think he's there for. I think he's like what's the guy from Talksport? What's his name? Adrian Durham.
Oh,
like him.
Trust me, right? I couldn't work around people like that. Honestly, I would quit.
No, but the thing is, if I was the executive, I would have you work with Adrian Durham because I know it would kick off every week and the ratings would be amazing.
Oh dear, it'd be disaster. Absolute disaster.
Exactly.
We'd have to do it like that, the hay fight where they had the barriers in. It'd just be crazy.
Yeah, but that's exactly what people want. People want a disaster. People want things to crash, bang, wallet. People want things to go wrong. That's what people want. That's the society we're in. We're in a crash society, right? We're in a car crash society. That's what it is.
We love drama.
Exactly.
That's why people watch soap operas. You look at soap operas now; it's just week after week of drama.
Exactly.
But people love that stuff. But yeah, it's a tough industry, and it's tough on the outside. Well, it's tough on the inside when you feel like you're on the outside because you sort of don't get. Yeah, listen, I do what I do because that's just me. If you met me in the pub, I'm exactly the same kind of guy. I don't look for drama. I don't look for confrontation. I just speak as I find. I'm not rude to anybody. I just tell the truth, and that's the way I like to live my life. Because like I've said to you before, to be a good liar, you've got to have a great memory.
Exactly.
I don't have a great memory, so it's easy for me just to speak as I find. And fortunately, like I said, I've had no drama with dart players since I've been doing this. And they like me. The players come up and they say, "We love it when you commentate on our games." Because not only will I commentate on the games, I'll also look at angles to help promote them, and if they've just signed a new contract with somebody, a new deal, especially these young players that are struggling to pay for the tour. It's important that you put the whole story across, not just sort of, oh, there he goes, he's at a 20. And another one. Oh, you know what I mean? And I just, yeah, it's and I don't have any media training, you know what I mean? I just sort of listened a lot. I'm a sport watcher. I love sport.
Yes.
Especially one-on-one sport. Any kind of one-on-one sport, I think is fascinating because of the emotional side of it. What people go through, whether it be, it could be tennis, it could be, any kind of one-on-one sport. It's fascinating, which is why, although team sport's very popular with a certain sort of demographic, I don't think there's nothing better than a good old tear up where you see two guys that are evenly matched. And you see what they go through, the whole process. I think it's fascinating.
Let's talk a bit about, I want to talk about some darts. And one of the questions being asked here is Eric Bristow got blackballed off Sky for speaking the truth. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, yeah, I suppose I can. He made a statement regarding, I think it was someone who got abused, and then didn't say anything, and then he basically made a comment that could be sort of, I don't homophobic, or you know. So if you sort of like broke it down, you sort of get a little bit of what the point he was trying to make. But you know, that subject has got to be left for professionals, people who, you know, listen. How do we know the lucky ones in this world that never had to go through any kind of emotional feeling of being abused and treated badly? You know, how do we know if it hadn't happened to you? You don't know how it feels. You know, it's no good saying, listen, we all got a bit of bullying at school. You know, no doubt you know you've had plenty of stick. You know, and that's totally different to being abused. You can't say, oh, when I was 14, a group of lads bullied me in school. Although that's awful, you know, that still doesn't go anywhere near the subject that he was trying to make a point across. And there's loads of other. I mean, he went on Piers Morgan, and for me, you know, it was just a stupid comment. That you know, listen, there's certain things I won't talk about. You know, politics. You know, I don't know enough about it. Football, I don't know enough about it, so I don't talk about it. And there's certain things in life that you just leave there. You just, you know, if it was something that he was passionate about, then go and raise money for people who, you know, abused victims of, you know, I know he gave his appearance money from going on ITV to talk to Piers Morgan. He got $5 grand. You know, he rightly so gave that to charity. You know, but you know, if it's something you're passionate about, then do something about it. Don't voice your opinion about it and do nothing. You know, I don't get it. But again, you know, that was a strange bit really, because he was Sky loved him, and he was mainly there as a spotter. So him and Keith Deller did the spotting for Sky the majority of the time. It's basically telling the cameraman which shot they're going out on. So if they want 52, right, pick 20. So the cameraman knows big 20, and the director knows what's going on. And then they would wheel him out to do the odd bit of commentary, and then they would have him as a pundit, which he was, you know, he was very good at. He's a straight up guy. Which I'm surprised Sky let him do, because he's totally opposite of what Sky like.
Yeah.
But you know, you know, it was split. Some fans liked him, some fans loathed him. You know, it's one of them. Not everybody's gonna like you, and not everybody's gonna loathe you. But yeah, it was a strange one, and he won't. You know, I don't think he will ever get back on TV after that, which is a shame really, because he did have, you know, he was colourful and he had plenty to add. But you know what it's like in this industry. Once you've been sort of hung out to dry, that you stay there.
You think there's ever a possibility that Eric Bristol would like to do an interview on BWTM Sports?
I mean, I think he's been very wary of it, because as you can imagine, sort of Piers Morgan and the other person they got on ITV absolutely pulled him to bits, to be honest.
Well,
so
yeah, you don't want to be doing. Yeah.
He's very wary, but well, I will point him in a direction and listen to your stuff. And I think if he sat down and listened to one of your interviews, he would know he's going to get fair change and he's not going to get mugged off. And yeah, he probably would do it. He does enjoy that sort of thing. So you know, and he understands. I should imagine it. I mean, if it was me, I would be taking every opportunity to explain myself.
Yeah, but I probably wouldn't ask him that. I'd probably be wanting to know more about his career, what made him such a great player, his mental mindset, you know, because he used to be able to predict things and make things happen the way you want him to be. Those are the sort of things I want to talk about Eric Bristol about. The stuff that the off comments that he made that got him censored are not the sort of things that I really want to be looking into, to be honest. Because that's sensationalism, isn't it? So, you know.
I mean, as I said to you, you know, he was Dark's Muhammad Ali. I mean, he was the man, and you know, and he sort of became Phil Taylor's Angelo Dundee, if you like. You know, he passed on to Phil everything he knew,
Right.
and that relentless ability to literally just destroy people, and not like mentally and sort of, although it's not a physical sport, but you know what I mean, mentally and physically, how to break an opponent down even before you've got on there.
Wow.
And then while you've got them on their little, you know, idiosyncrasies of little looks or comments or smiles or smirks, you know, just little things that would completely rattle you. So, you know, although Phil Taylor is, that question, one of the greatest that's ever thrown a dart, if you had that then a mix of Eric Bristol, you can imagine the task we were all up against.
Wow. The more you talk about Eric Bristol, I mean, I remember him only, like I said, when younger, the whole mullet and stuff, but it was Eric Bristol.
He's released a couple of books that are well worth reading.
Wow. It was Eric Bristow and Chaz and Dave. That was my time. Chaz and Dave, Eric and Eric Bristow. There you go. That was my time. Chaz and Dave and Eric Bristow. It's not bad. How does Chris Mason think of Gurney's antics in the Grand Prix final? I think gamesmanship, instinctive passion. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, he's a nice kid as well. When you see them up there, listen, he's a very nervous player, so he has these routines. Well, I don't know whether they're self-implemented or self-taught, or he's had a sports psychologist come in. He's very wary of not getting too wrapped up in the moment. But it comes across as tactical. I'm sure a little bit of it is tactical. I mean, there's loads of players out there that will try and slow a game down, speed up. You know, I've done it. You know, I've been guilty of it. You know, if you've got a particular slow player, you try and quicken him up. You try and get him out of his rhythm. You know, but then when you sort of almost make contact with your opponent, or you know, once it sort of oversteps that mark. Listen, he's from Ireland, and the tournament was in Ireland, in Dublin. And he was getting booed by his own fans, so that tells you what they thought about it. So the meltdown on Twitter, and it was a shame really, because it marred what should have been a fabulous moment for him. He's been around for sort of 10 years or so, I'd say. Daryl Gurney, you know, made strides in the BDO. Didn't, you know, maybe was not old enough or wise enough while he was there, and then. You know, he joined the PDC and started to learn his trade again, and has become, you know, a really, really high-end player. But the problem he's going to find now when you get that, you know, it's almost like you become a target.
Right.
And then, you know, you get up to 10. He's going to be in the Premier League next year as well. Some of them crowds are up to 10,000. You know, he's gonna be in for a lot of stick, because they're dart fans. Well, say dart fans, use that term loosely, but they won't forget, and they like a reaction out of a dart player. So if you give them some fuel, they will burn you. You know, they will, and he's gonna find it really tough, really, really tough, because they're gonna get right on his case, and he's gonna get some fierce abuse. I don't think there was any malice in what he was doing. I think it was literally just pure, a little bit of gamesmanship, a little bit of tactics. But ultimately, it was a fabulous final. As I predicted, what it was going to lack in quality, it was going to make up for in drama, and it was. It went to the final set. It toed and froed. It had loads of little key moments, and it was a great match. But you know, there was a great saying. I don't know who penned it, but today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip paper. But unfortunately, in the modern world, nothing. You know. Now that it's online, everybody finds stuff and looks stuff up, and then they get the opinion of others. You know, like Chris Eubank. You know, lions don't worry about what a sheep thinks or something. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunately with sport. That's not how it works. You know, a fan will say, "Oh, did you see him? Oh yeah, he was out of order. Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, that Gurney, did you see?" You know, next thing you know, you got 500 people absolutely destroying him, when really they just sort of caught bits of it rather than. And again, you don't know, unless you've been up there and you understand the emotions you go through. It's hard to understand, or even even contemplate what goes through your mind during those moments. You know, it was £100,000 for the winner. It's a major title. It puts you in the Grand Slam. It put him in the Premier. You know, that was effectively like a £500,000 game. And if there wasn't some emotion up there, then I'd be worried.
Wow. See, I don't understand. I don't know the big names in I do know some of the names in darts, but so what I want to do is I'm gonna try and take it like I'm gonna look at the darts players as if they were boxers for me to try and understand this more. And I'll do it this way. So okay, tell me the most controversial character you've got in darts at the moment.
Oh, controversial. Oh, probably. There's two really. There's a guy called Gerwyn Price, who's a Welsh lad who used to be a professional rugby player.
Right.
Got himself in a little bit of drama and switched sports, which is very unusual. You know, I know it has happened in other sports. Footballers, doing boxing. Curtis Wood has been one, and is it Mackenzie the other one?
Yep.
And he's very successful, very, very good at it, climbing up the rankings. But he's a real fierce competitor. He's got that competitive edge. So yeah, he's very. I put him like a Eubank type character, and then there's a young kid called Corey Capri from Australia.
Yeah.
And he's proper Larry. He probably fist pumps. He's in your face. You know, he's got all the tactics down. He's like an 17 or 18-year-old kid. So yeah, this is sort of like the next generation.
Right. Give me somebody who has a lot of talk, a Conor McGregor type of character.
Oh, yeah, there's a few of them. Yeah, to be honest, dart players are pretty known for that. You know, it sort of comes with the territory. You know, they'll never back down from a match. And you do. Unfortunately, you don't get that kind of. I think because they spend so much time with each other. Like last week, they were in Dublin for 9 days.
Wow.
Playing the Grand Prix tournament. Prior to that, they played some player championship events. They'd have flown back, and then tonight was a World Series of Darts qualifier, and then they're with each other for the next 2 days playing in Pro Tour events. So it's very hard to have some serious needle with a lot of people that you see on a regular basis. You know, it gets tiresome. You know, and it's almost like you can never let your guard down. But plenty of them got a lot of chat. We've got no real Bristow type characters anymore because we have a thing called DRA, which is the Darts Regulation Authority.
Right.
And they'll fine you if you fart, literally.
Really?
Oh yeah, and they will wean out. You know, it become like that period we had with snooker where you just had sort of like 32 robots turning up at the World Championships. You know, especially when your Jimmy Whites were gone and your Alex Higgins. Sport needs these characters.
So if they're trying to, he hasn't gone, has he? No, he hasn't gone. Yeah, you're here. Right. So this regularity of this organization that are now trying to clamp down on people that may speak out of turn and all the rest of it, does that not? Are they not aware that they're going to lose personalities by doing that?
Yeah, they will. This is the problem, and that's I had towards the end of my career, I had several run-ins with them. It's run by an ex-police chief.
Oh dear.
Which is nice enough, easy like, but obviously me and him is not going to see eye to eye. Yeah, so they're basically just sort of squashing people's. But I understand it to one degree. Barry wants to get away from that stigma, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that, like, as we discussed, that not the 9 o'clock news sketch, you know, beer swilling, smoke-filled rooms with dart players all boozing. But darts is played in a pub, right? It's a pub sport. It's a social sport. People drink, and when they could smoke in pubs, they would drink and smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a social thing as much as a sport.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand. I mean, and what Barry's done is amazing. You know, this sport's now like I think the tour next year is, I think there's like 11 or 12 million pound prize money.
Okay.
I mean, it's a mega sport. So what he has done is right. You know, he's now attracting big mainstream sponsors that probably years ago wouldn't have gone anywhere near darts. But now now they're coming to him to sponsor events, not him chasing them for deals. You know, so in a way I get it, and he has cleaned up the sport. There's, you get less people turning up drunk, or you get less people doing drunk, silly interviews and things like that. Everybody's a little bit more wary that, that what their position is, and the fact that they have a responsibility to act and behave in a certain manner. You know, it's so in that sense of it, that's great. But in another sense, it's a little bit disappointing because, there's some real funny guys out there. There's some guys that have got plenty of chat who come out with great one-liners, or enjoy that little bit of, it's ultimately it's only a bit of banter. You see in boxing, all the build up to a fight, and then afterwards they're hugging each other and they're best mates for life. And darts should be no different. It's literally just listen. It works. Mine and Phil Taylor's match, we had 2 days of nonsense before we played. It was one of the highest viewed games. You know what I mean? It did great numbers for Sky. They loved it. But ultimately the DRA clamped down as they fined us like several £1,000s. We had a bit of prize money withheld. And you're like, well, okay, you can't have it in one breath and then take it away in another. But unfortunately, that's the way it is.
So there are people, as you're talking, people are asking all sorts of questions. They're firing off questions left, right, and center. One person says, Dennis Presley, a legend.
Yeah, Dennis Presley, a two-time world champion. Once in the BDM, once in the PDC. Yorkshireman, used to be a Coleman.
Right.
Yeah, proper spit and sawdust straight up kind of guy. He was a great guy and a fabulous player. One of the game's sort of, Hall of Famers.
Okay. Whitlock.
Yeah, he's a strange character. He's sort of, you think he's going to go off the radar and go missing, but again, when you talk about like personalities and people's substance and their stones, he's Australian and he's a typical Aussie.
Right.
Listen, every time it looks like it's going to go wrong for him and he's going to literally drift down the ranking, he goes away, regroups, comes back even stronger. Nothing but credit and respect for him. He's a proper competitor, typical Australian.
Now, there's a question I was quite interested in. James Wade, talk to me about him. What's going on with him at the moment?
James Wade, a few years ago it came out. You could almost see him. Listen, I suffer from. I don't produce any serotonin.
Right.
So I don't produce the chemical that keeps you sort of balanced, or not too excited or not too low.
Right.
So I sort of, it's one of them things. If you suffer with a mental illness, you sort of get it. You could almost see it in him. And it came out that he was. I mean, again, like when I was seeing my first record, please don't tell me you do anything competitive. And I said, well, I'm a professional dart player. So, well, how would you play? And to be honest, you just don't know. You just sort of find a way. And it's the same thing with James. He suffers with depression. He's got bipolar, so he has sort of massive highs, which are almost as dangerous as massive lows.
Wow.
And to be honest, he's managed it incredibly well. He's won the Premier League. He's won the World Match Play. He's won the Grand Prix. Actually, the only event he's not won is the World Championships, but he's won pretty much everything else multiple times. And he does a lot. And he's quite a shy guy. You don't get a lot out of James. He's quite he keeps himself to himself. He doesn't. He's a great lad. I've known him. I played him when he made his debut in the PDC when he was just a kid. And he's done incredibly well with it. And he does amazing things for the awareness of it as well. He was at the House of Commons today. He did a speech about awareness and an understanding of mental health. So it's all credit to him to stand there and because that's the most nerve-wracking. But the first time you tell somebody that you're not well, but it's not something you can see, and it's something that if you've never had it, you don't understand. It's very hard to understand.
Okay. Let's see who else we've got here. I'm trying to go through these questions. Kirk Shepherd.
Yeah, he's a wild one. Another great kid. Made the World Championship finals years ago from absolutely. I think he was like a 250 to 1 outside shot. Dodged bullets all the way through the tournament. Beat Wayne Mardell in the semi-final. He was expected to, he beat Terry Jenkins. I think he beat Manny, Barry Bates. All these guys had darts to beat him. And he got to the final and eventually succumbed to John Park, who's a 3-time world champion. So there's no shame in that. But yeah, he's another kid that's finding his feet again and starting to get results. Good player and a really, really funny guy. He's mad as a March hare.
Okay. Simon the Adonis Beaton.
Stevie Beaton, yeah, he's Google him, mate. There's some great pictures of him. He's got that old like them Scouse character and mustache, and he had big hair, and he wears an open shirt with a dark hairy chest. He's always tanned, good looking guy, and a great dart player. One of the smoothest actions in the game. It's like spooning cream from a silk spoon. He's really special.
Kevin Painter show slow pulls faces for 5 minutes before he goes for the double. I don't know. This is what Michael C's saying, so I don't know what he means by that.
Yeah, he's another one, a little bit like Daryl Gurney. He wears his heart on his sleeve. You know, he wouldn't be any good at poker.
Right. Did Peter?
You can read every emotion that's going through him.
Oh, he's one of those ones. Did
Mm-hmm.
Peter Manley and Taylor get into any fisticuffs?
No, never. There's some great footage again on YouTube. It was in the final. I think he played him in two finals, two world finals at least.
Yep.
And I think one of them Taylor done him 7-1, and then the other one he did him 7-0, and he walked off stage without shaking his hand in total disgust. But they're fine. They work together now. They're fine. They get on okay.
Okay. MVG versus Phil Taylor in his prime.
Phil Taylor. It's a bit. I tell you what, in comparison, MVG is a bit of a Mike Tyson, where Taylor's a bit of a a bit of a Muhammad Ali. Like he would break him. He would eventually break him mentally. Phil Taylor's strength was not only obviously his insane ability, but also his mental capacity to take the moments where he knows he should be in front, but he doesn't capitulate. You know, he doesn't. You can't break him down. Only later on in his career, you could, there's the signs there of frustration. But early doors, you couldn't. MVG could throw the kitchen sink at him, and he'd still be there.
Here's one: Eric Bristow versus Phil Taylor, prime for prime.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. The closest. Well, they played each other in Phil Taylor's first World Final in 1990 at Lakeside, and Taylor did a job on him, but Bristow's prime was, 5-6 years prior to that. I mean, Bristow had a very short career, 76, 77-ish, probably. I mean, he won the world title 84, 85, 86. That was his real prime years, and then from 86 onwards, he continued to make finals. But again, this is what the man we're talking about in 1997. Way past his sell-by date. He managed to make the semi-finals of the Worlds, and he gave Phil Taylor a real scare. Don't get me wrong, Taylor won at his best, and was that down to Eric's mind games? You don't know, but it would have been a lot closer than people think. I mean, there's some videos on there on YouTube again of Eric averaging. I put one up on Twitter the other day. 84 World Masters final against Keith Taylor, and he averaged over 100 in that match, which 100 average in those days were hard to come by because the targets were smaller, the wires were bigger, they had big staples on the board holding the wires, so you used to get a lot of bounce outs. And obviously the conditions nowadays, they play, the Pro Tour stuff's played behind closed doors on immaculate setups, brand new boards every time. It's the perfect environment to play darts, and obviously they're playing a lot more and for a lot more money. But yeah, Bristow would have more than held his own in the modern era, that's for sure. So would have John Lowe as well.
So if you had imagine Eric Bristow in 2000 in the 2000s against Phil Taylor, where would he be?
Bristow, if they played each other 10 times, I'd probably say it'd be 6-4, maybe 7-3 to Taylor. But Bristow would have had his success.
Okay. Best 9 darter you remember?
Well, the first one I'll never forget. Although it wasn't showed live, it was John Lowe in 1984 in the MFI World Match Play against Keith Taylor. And again, the boards were much smaller. It was so hard to hit. They were rare. Now they're 2 a penny nowadays, 9 darters. But back then, like I said, that was the first one ever on TV. And it was unusual where he went. It's usually 180, 186 to treble 19, double 12. He went treble 17, treble 18, double 18 with his last 3 darts, which was an incredible weight. It was just not seen before. But, apart from the 9 darter not being seen, going that route seemed, it was 2 targets that you rarely aim at. Majority of darts is played on the treble 20 and the double 19, and obviously the treble 19 and the doubles at the end. but Phil Taylor hit 2. I think it was in the Premier League in one match against James Wade, and nearly a third. Those two will sit in my memory. Obviously, the one that I'll never forget, because it was the first one ever live on TV, on British TV, and that was on Sky. That was Phil Taylor against me at the World Match Play, and that was, that was 100 grand on that, and that was some achievement.
I think somebody's putting that there because they put your name next to it. I think they were trying to be funny when they asked the question, because obviously I must have known that the 9 data, well, you may have been involved with it. The next question is, well, there's other people who said her, Brendan Dolan's 9 data was brilliant. Lewis versus Anderson.
Go ahead. That was an unusual one, because that was the first one ever on the one they just played in Dublin is unusual. It's the only one they play. It's double start, so you have to hit a double to start the leg.
Right.
So obviously that's much more difficult than some people say it's much more difficult. There's some people that say the opposite, but the very fact that so few have been hit. But yeah, that was the first ever 9 dart finish on TV, double in, double out, in Dublin. So yeah, that was incredible. And again, in that tournament, there's been 2 in one match. James Wade hit one, and then Robert Thornton hit one against him as well. So that was again another incredible moment of genius. Lewis
versus Anderson, 9 dart in final.
That's another. Like I said, there's so many nowadays. You're almost surprised now if there's not one in a tournament. That's how regular they come now. But that's that's advances in equipment, and players have moved on. Like I said, they play in a much more professional environment now. It's the money is there now for everybody. Even if you're just a sort of top 32 fringe player, you'll still make as much money a year as a builder. So it's now a career opportunity rather than a hobby.
Okay. Do you think Klaassen and Van Gerwen should shake hands after the match despite their beef?
Well, the beef is one that Jelle and Michael were friends, or from childhood. They were friends when they were like kids, and unfortunately, Jelle sent some inappropriate pictures to a family member of Michael Van Gerwen's girlfriend's family, and subsequently charged for it, and he won't forgive him, and I don't think he should either. It was inappropriate, and apart from what he did was bad. The trust is then, you just don't go there, and he went there, and no, I don't blame Michael whatsoever. It's not beef. It's not like they've had an argument. Jelle's behaviour is inappropriate, and that's it. There's some players that talk to him now, and there's some people that still won't talk to him. That's here and there.
Okay. Do you think Dave Chisnell will become world champion?
I hope so. I hate using the word, when I hate hearing, he deserves it, or I don't really like that, but he's been a great player for a long, long time, and he's had his chances, but a very explosive player. But the problem is he either hits loads of 180s and can't finish, or he hits not very many 180s and can finish everything on the board. But yeah, he's one of them. But he's a flair player. He's exciting to watch because you don't know what you're going to get with Chisnell. He hits 180s for fun, literally loads and loads and loads of them. And he's made some finals, and it's just not quite worked out for him. Because as I know, when you can almost smell it, and you just can't get your hands on it, that frustration, it grows. It becomes more and more and more and more. It's like once you start missing it, it's infectious. It's like, you see some guys that play some short format darts where they'll go right the way through the match without hitting a double. Well, hitting doubles with one dart, is infectious. Is missing, and the doubles just get smaller and smaller and smaller, and unfortunately that's what happens for Dave. He just tries a little bit too hard, but I hope so. He's a nice kid, and he's contributed a lot to the game. So yeah, I'd like to see him be a world champion.
Okay. Please ask Chris what he he said to Phil Taylor after they had their altercation at the World Championship. He leaned in and said something in his ear. The papers ran a story the next day the day before.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, it sort of gets muddled over the years, but we joke about. Listen, we joke about it now. There was a. I think I said to you before. I was in the press room, and I think I just played a game, and I had a few beers on board, and I was bumping my gums a bit and talking some shit. And someone said, "Oh, did you see the article about Bill Taylor went to MFI in his Ferrari, but he's going to take it back because he couldn't get anything in the boot?" And I just put a throwaway comment in. I mean, who the fuck buys a Ferrari and shops at MFI? And yeah, so and then every day he was putting these articles in the newspaper, and again I won my next game, and we were sort of like teeing up to meet. On my next game, I was in there, and then he said, I'm definitely got to take the Ferrari back." Yvonne, his wife, said it's too much of a fanny magnet. I said, "Yeah, I don't know why he's constantly rubbing our nose in it and giving it Bertie big bollocks all the time." And that was it. Then, of course, we met in I think it was the quarterfinals, and it was all built up and hyped. He beat me. I think he beat me 4-0, but 2 or 3 of the sets were really close. I had a dart in each of the sets to win a set. And he gave me one of them like lettucey leaf type handshakes, like like a wet handshake. And so I just sort of pulled him in. I said, "Oh, don't shake my hand like a man, Bertie big bollocks." And then it just, "What did you say?" And then we just sort of like, it just exploded, and we just sort of hurled abuse at each other. He had a rant. He went upstairs and said, "I'll see him outside." So I was like I was waiting outside for like an hour. I was just going to get him to come down. I want to know what he's going to do. And of course, then I got told, "Listen, Chris, you're going to get banned." And so eventually, I got bundled into a cab. Went home the next day, and we didn't live far from each other then in Stoke. And I thought I need to put an end to this because it was like spiraling. It was going mad. I was getting fierce abuse. It was funny how it all got sort of loaded onto me. And so we just met up for coffee, had a chat. I apologised. No problem. Brought her under a bridge. Been good mates ever since. So, and we, as I said to you last time we spoke, I'm working with him next week, and Gary Anderson and Michael Smith in Bradford. We get on great. We have a great time.
So I want to what I don't get is, how is it you two are going to come to blows at one point? I don't get it. If I was going to come to blows with somebody, it was that bad a feeling. I was going to come to blows with them. It's like kind of getting Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn. They're about to come to blows with one another, and then Nigel says, "I'll tell you what, let's have a meet up for a cup of tea next week and have a chat about it." I mean, how did you bridge the gap from?
Because of my background, it's obviously totally different to his. So, I sort of went into default mode. Oh well, there's only one way to sort this out. Let's have a tear up. And that don't get reciprocated very often. Especially in the world of darts. And not, there's not many people that would go there. So of course my instant reaction is you got to remember. I mean, this guy was number 1 in the world, and I was ranked 16 in the world, and I couldn't move up and I couldn't move down because the majority of the tournaments I played in, I made the last 16, and I got beat by Taylor, and it just kept happening and happening and happening. And I was really, really pissed off, totally pissed off with the fact that I couldn't beat him. It was, I just couldn't, I wasn't good enough to beat him, or I would never do myself justice, or he would play out of his skin against me. I mean, he averages over long distance games that, he never replicated. He hit big averages over shorter course games, but like that 9-darter in 2002, I averaged 100 in that game throughout the whole match. I got absolutely gubbed 16-7. He averaged nearly 113 over 24 legs of darts, or 23 legs of darts. I mean, that was unheard of. If I'd have been playing anybody else, I'd have bashed them. But it was always Phil, and then in the end, frustration, resentment, jealousy, everything sort of gets the better of you. But as I said, you spend so much time with these people, you can't really have a long-term grudge with somebody, or because because you spend so much time with each other, eventually it will come to blows, and ultimately they were never looking for too many excuses to ban me or fine me. So I just had to eat a bit of humble pie, apologise, which I was genuinely, it was embarrassing. I look on it now and I have a little chuckle, but I remember back then I was mortified with myself, because I really let myself down. I had sponsors, I had a load of people that put a lot of time and energy into me, and I let them all down. So I felt, I humiliated myself more than anything. So I just had to swallow my pride and go, listen, pal, I'm sorry, and I hope you accept my apologies, and we can move on. And thankfully, we did.
Well, Chris, you know that it is something about nostalgia and looking back at times, and whereas you're the person that's affected by it, there are many that are going to go back and look at it and have a good chuckle and a little giggle about it. And it's just one of those things in life that people look back and will have a good chuckle and a good giggle about it. You obviously were personally affected by it, and the pain that you had to go through, having to face someone like Phil Taylor, who was one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time in playing darts, having to face somebody like that all the time and getting beat by them. Of course, that must be very painful because of your own personal ambitions to be a world champion yourself.
Yeah, week in, week out. When I was boxing, and we used to spar on if we had no shows on, we would spar, normally a Friday or a Saturday. And there was a case where I can't remember his name actually. He didn't actually go on to do anything in the pro ranks, but they might as well the same kid every week, and he used to knock 10 bells a shit. I used to say, no, I just don't want to fight him every week. For one, I'm not learning anything, and he's just too good.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to sort of hands up, Cabras, and say, right, okay. And it wasn't for the case that I didn't go away. I used to drive for 2 hours every morning up to Stoke, play 100 legs with Phil, and then drive home. And I do that 3 days a week. I used to go there, and I thought, well, if you need to learn, off the master. So the best thing is, let's start practicing together. Yeah, no problem, pal. And I'd knock on the pub door, 10 o'clock, shut all day, come down with a cup of tea in his hand and his slippers on. Within 10 minutes was absolutely blistering and smashing me all over a dartboard. But I suppose from the boxing side of things and everything else, you learn, you try and learn that discipline. But I've got to learn, and I did that for a long time. I did that. I would, like you hear about guys that would go everywhere to spar with anyone. The same thing. If someone was better than me and they were going to offer me 3-4 hours practice, I would drive wherever it was and go and practice. Sometimes hold my own, sometimes win, sometimes get bashed out. But that's what I did. It wasn't the case that I sort of sat back and thought, well, okay, I got to take it. I tried everything, and then literally everything. You name it, I tried it, and I just came up short. But I put a video up earlier of a set from the World Championships against John Part where I averaged 118, and I get some stick. People who've been watching the game 5 minutes. Oh, you want any good? I say, I wasn't bad for a wanker, was I? God, I can't believe how good you were. And I said, well, listen, I don't talk shit. I was decent. And it just ultimately, whether it was the fact that I couldn't mentally cope with the situations I was put in, and then more so than I couldn't cope with the fact of the frustration of not being able to get over the line, and then that became my Achilles heel.
Wow. Thanks for that, Chris. I appreciate it. Something else. Michael C says, ask Chris if it's true some players get pissed before they go on stage.
Yeah, listen, if you don't come from that, obviously the modern player is changing because where they play, like I said, darts is a pub game. Well, nowadays it's played in all sorts of places that don't necessarily either conform to alcohol. My mate was involved with the Junior Darts Corporation. There's no alcohol. There's no smoking. The kids have to be polite and behave in a certain manner. So this generation is slightly different. But the older generation, yeah, we'd have, there'd be some players that, like I said, Andy Fordham would drink 30, 40 bottles of pills and a few brandies before getting on stage, and you wouldn't know he's had a drink. There's some players that will drink 2 pints. There's some player that will drink 8. It's one of those things. I mean, put it this way: the vast majority wouldn't pass a breathalyzer, but the actual pressure when you go up there, obviously, the beer mellows the nerves down.
Right.
And the alcohol just literally makes everything it dulls everything. But when you get up there, Obviously, you can't drink on stage anymore. It's almost like a sobering experience. You get there, the pressure, the situation. So yeah, people still do drink a few beers before they get on there, but nothing like what it used to be.
Okay, could any of the current BDO players right now make it into top 10, 20 of the PDC?
Well, there's going to be a few crossing over in January. Their main guy at the moment is a guy called Glenn Durran, who's won the last couple of World Championships, and he won the World Masters back to back, but got beat by a guy called Brzezinski at the last event that I covered for Eurosport.
Right.
There's a few guys. There's a guy, a young kid called Danny Noppert. He looks like he's, it's very hard to gauge because the BDO is sort of like a totally different setup to the PDC. It's unfortunately it's sort of based around. It's pro sort of amateur and county players and Super League, and although it's more or less a proving ground. Every majority of the players now that are in the PDC sort of learn their trade to a certain level in the BDO, and then they switch over, and then some of them can go up a level, and some of them improve massively. Like I said, because they've got ideal conditions, they're playing all the time. Most of them then can quit their job and become pro. Majority of the people in the BDO have 9-to-5 jobs. Yet still, play darts on TV when they get the opportunity. But Durrance, so I've heard a rumour, is coming over. There's another guy called Jamie Hughes, another real talented player from the West Midlands. So there's a few, but you don't know how they're going to get on. Some might find it really hard because in the BDO you're playing some of the opens. There could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 players. In the Dutch Open, there's 2,500, 3,000 entries. Where in the PDC it's 128 entries, and they're all quality.
Okay.
Even the lower ranked players will give you a really good game, and if you're not on your metal, you're going home. So it's all about levels. Some take to it, and like I said, they really improve. Some really struggle and end up going back. But it's very hard to predict because you just don't know how they're going to take the competitive side of it and how relentless it is.
Right. Thanks for that. Have you ever gone from the practice board playing terrible and then produced quality in a match?
Yeah, I've done it both ways. I've come out with a saying years ago. I'd be on the practice board feeling like champagne and get up there and play like Aldi lemonade.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's funny. Just sometimes and they're exactly the same throws. They're measured and they're remeasured, and you practice in a quiet environment. It's perfect. But sometimes you just get up on that stage and you maul around it, and it just won't drop in the red bit, and you just can't get any fluidity to your action. And a lot of that is down to do with pressure. And like I said, if you start off and it's a struggle when you start, you tend to then struggle right through the game. Some you get away with, some you don't.
Okay. Adrian Lewis, is he coming back to full fitness? According to,
I think so. Yeah, he had an injury that's sort of bugged him throughout the year, and as far as I know, that's now sorted, and he's able to put in the required practice. Because that's another thing. You play a lot of competitions, but if there's a little flaw in your throw, or there's something not quite right, you have to go away and spend hours on the board just getting it bang on. Like I said, it's like a cue action. It's just a reverse of a cue action. So you've got to work on that as much as you've got to work on the actual other technical side of length and weight. But yeah, so I'm hearing. I don't know whether it's come too late in the year because we're just hitting a real busy schedule now. There's so many big tournaments on, and then obviously in December, mid-December, the World Championship starts. So that might have come around a little bit too early for him, but he's still a young guy. I mean, super talented, Adrian Lewis, like major player. But yeah, he just has to get his nut down now, graft, and if it don't work out for him this year, just put the groundwork in so he hits the ground running next year when it all starts off again.
Okay. Has Chris heard of Gary Anderson and Gary Robson fixing games during their time in the BDO? I heard they were pulled up for it a few times. They used to split prize money.
Well, there was rumours. I mean, how much substance is in it, I don't know. If they were pulled up, if they were guilty, then they would have been charged, which I believe neither were. So, you know, I know they all say no smoke without fire, but yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, there was rumors. There's always rumors, but you know, it's hard to do. I mean, they were partners. They had a big exhibition tour thing together, but throwing a game against each other, you know, it's a one-on-one sport. It's a rarity. You know, there's so much pride in the game that it'd be hard to think that somebody would lose on purpose. So just, you know, it's the Grand Slam. Unfortunately, it can throw up that opportunity because it's done in groups, and say, you know, you could be out of the group,
yep,
and you could be playing your mate, and if you lose, they could get through. So, you know, in that scenario, maybe you don't lose on purpose, but you just don't try as hard. So, but that's unfortunately that's the nature of it. That it leaves itself wide open for that kind of thing.
Okay. When you lose on this is DJ CWD. He says, when you lose on darts, we have one rule: we can't hit the other player. But Chris might or maybe counted to 10. You must keep that.
Well, it's a great game. It's meant to start with a handshake and end with an handshake. And years ago, when you play in a pub, the way I grew up, if you lost your game, you used to buy the other guy half. What he wants to do, half a beer, half a lager, and then he would have the first sip of it. Well, you take the top off, and then it would get shared amongst his team members, and that's how it used to work years ago. But I'm not sure if that still goes on nowadays. But that was the thing. If you didn't have the money to buy half a beer if you lost, then you better make sure you won.
Okay, Chris. Do dart players have women throw themselves at them after matches, like women groupies?
I should imagine nowadays with all the money they're making, yeah. But no, I think there's more girls that do go now and watch darts. It's predominantly the demographic is sort of, you know, lads sort of 18 to sort of 35. I'd say it changed. It used to years ago it'd be all sort of middle-aged people that would play themselves down the pub. But yeah, it really has changed now. You get, especially the big holiday camp tournaments we do one at Butlins, the UK Open. And there's 5,000 people go there, so they make a weekend of it. You know, they have their theme weekends anyway. They'll actually, you know, you get a group of girls that go and they dress up all in fancy dress, and yeah, so the demographic has totally changed now. The type of people that will go and watch darts, it's a big party atmosphere.
Interesting. Old stomping ground Butlins, the one in Bognor Regis and the one in Minehead. Used to work at both of them.
Oh, right, okay.
Used to get paid good money as well working there. I know at the time the people were getting paid $5.50 an hour. I think I was on 10.25 an hour agency work, and most of the time was spent sitting on the beach. Good times.
Yeah, that's some serious dough.
Yeah, back in the day it was. Yeah. So ask the question here: Does he think Van Gerwen is prone to bottling it against Taylor more than anyone else?
I'm not sure it's bottling. I think it's frustration. I think he was on the end of so many beatings by Taylor that when that sort of tide turned and Bill started to sort of wind it down and not be, he was dominating everybody. And when he lost that edge, and obviously Michael came through and he was sort of doing a Taylor job on everybody, totally dominating and winning everything. But like with all greats, you know, they have a one last hurrah in them, and Bill always seems to find it against Michael. He enjoys beating Michael more than anybody because Michael's been quite vocal of his opinion on Taylor, and he's almost at times rubbed his nose in it a little bit, which is, you know, a little sad. You know, it reminds me a bit of Holmes and Ali, if you like.
Yeah.
It was it left a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
But then sort of Phil all of a sudden, he must go away and think, oh, right, you think I'm done, do you? And then he goes away, regroups, puts a bit of practice in, and comes back and tans his ass for him, you know, like sits him on his knee. And Michael hates that. Michael hates that. Michael's he plays on pure adrenaline and arrogance and self-belief, which is a great thing, but he's not. You know, away from darts, he's nothing like that at all.
Where do you think Peter Wright will finish and keep up not only his entertainment, but will his darts finish? Or darts continue? That's the question asked.
Well, Peter Wright he's one of these that he's constantly changing his equipment. He's either using a different barrel, a different stem setup, a different flight, a different length point. He's always looking for like perfection. But with that, unfortunately, you then lose a confidence in your equipment. You know, out and out. When most dart players will use the same dart, and they'll pretty much play with them their whole career. They very rarely change anything because you know it works. You know, if it's not broke, you know, don't try and mend it, sort of thing. And he has to be careful with that because it's almost now become a, you know, it's almost like a, it's almost become like a habit. I'd like him to sort of say, right, from January onwards, I'm going to use this set of darts for the first 6 months of the year. If they don't work, I'm going to change them, and then I'm going to stick with another set for 6 months. But listen, he's top four in the world, ranked two or three in the world, I think, when all the points come off this year. So, and he's won a major. He won the UK Open. So it's hard to criticise, but if I was around him or anything to do with him, I'd just say, listen, just find a set of dart, stick them, and just give them every chance. So you've got something that when it comes out of your hand, you're 100% confident it's gonna go where you're pointing. But yeah, he's a great talent, but he's just not, for all that talent. He needs to win more majors. That's all you get. Remember, I mean, he's prolific on the floor, wins loads of pro tour events, but he needs to win more big TV tournaments to sort of be remembered how he should be remembered as a great player.
Right.
And he's another one that he wasn't the most talented guy in the world. He used to play pairs with Merv King, and he was his practice partner, and he was okay. He made the 1995 embassy, and then he went missing for a few years. Then he came back, and then he totally dedicated himself, and I mean dedicated. No one practices harder than Peter Wright. He's a total manufactured talent, if you like. What he's got is literally through just hard work.
Okay. I'm going to ask two more darts questions, and we'll finish off with some boxing. Richie Burnett, do you think he'll get back to where he was before his ban, after his ban is up?
Well, his ban is up now. He's back playing. He had initially had a bit of success when he came back, but yeah, he's finding it hard to get on a run. I think with the new kids coming through, they won't really have any respect for him, so he won't win any games just on his name anymore. But super talented player, mega player back in the day. But no, I wish I'm great mates with him. I love the guy to bits, but I think he's going to find it hard.
Okay. Daryl Gurney, do you think he's the next superstar of darts?
Well, he already is a superstar. Will he win more majors? I'm not so sure. As I said, the tournament he just won is a double start format. I mean, he's gone deep in other events in the last 12 months. You'd have to find another 10% on his game, and then he potentially could win more majors. But he's going to have to find another 10% for me.
Do you think big players now becoming a younger sport now, like MVG, these young talents coming through the ranks? This is something I'm reading.
Yeah, as I said, they're a different type of player. They're younger, they're leaner, they're healthier. They don't come from the same background. There's a lot more sports science involved with the younger players, and obviously they take care of them. They don't rely on the beer goggles to make them better.
Okay, are you good mates with Kevin Painter?
Yeah. I've been good mates with Kevin for years and years and years.
Okay,
great guy.
Adam Scott says, looking forward to seeing Chris back on ITV for the European Championship commentary.
Yeah, that's as I said, I'm up in Bradford next Thursday, and then down to London, and then we're doing the darts Friday and Saturday night, and then the following week off to Belgium to do the commentary and presented on ITV4 for the Europeans, which is a new location and a new venue, so really looking forward to that.
All this talking about darts is making me want to come and watch a game. Chris?
Yeah, you'll have to, mate.
Thank
You'll
you.
have to. Next time you can, anything that's on ITV that's within a sensible distance for you to come, you can come and be guest for the weekend and come and do a few interviews with the players. They love it. There's a lot of boxing fans in Durham.
I would love to do it. Thank you for that. Right, let's talk some boxing now. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, Chris, we're gonna have to start on a very sore note. Hughie Fury versus Joseph Parker.
Oh, it was a shocker. It was a shocker. You know, I love the viewers. I love Peter. But yeah, it was disappointing for me. I think his output was I just didn't understand. I don't know whether he either froze a little bit or there was something that Parker did that upset their game plan, and he couldn't adjust. I mean, he's very young in heavyweight boxer, limited experience at that level. I couldn't give him the fight as much as I wanted to give him the fight. It was a close enough fight. If you sort of, if you were a neutral and you looked at it, it was a close enough fight. But his output was limited. He ran out of ideas. Just back up, and then trying to throw a counter shot. It wasn't enough. When you listen, you look what Tyson did. He went to lad's backyard, and other people going, "Well, Tyson fought like that." No, he met him in the middle of the majority of the time, and he took him on, and he ripped the title. Listen, if you get a decision against Vladimir Klitschko in Germany, trust me, you deserve it twofold. And for me, I think when you're fighting for the biggest title in boxing, the heavyweight title, you've got to put it all on the line. And for me, he was safety first. And after 5 or 6 rounds, when he was still, you could see it. He wasn't getting anywhere with the tactics he was using. He should have been told, listen, mate, just put it all on the line. You ain't going to get a points decision. Listen, they don't want to give it to the Furies. It was a promotional nightmare. I know Mick Hennessy rolled the dice on this fight. And they were hoping for big pay-per-view numbers on YouTube. That didn't work out for him. And there was no way the sanctioning body wanted Fury to win it. So if it was going to be close, no way they were going to give him the decision anyway. So for me, they got it all wrong on this occasion. And I love the Furies to bits, but I just couldn't give him the fight.
Why do you think the governing bodies wouldn't give Hughie the win if it was close?
I think they were concerned of Mick Hennessy's financial situation, his ability as a promoter. I like Mick. I met him a few times, been to a load of his shows. I love the fact that he's so loyal. But they got it all wrong. There's no way a heavyweight world title fight of that magnitude, or what should have been that magnitude, should have been on that platform. It's a great idea if they'd have made it $4.99. There was a disaster for people trying to buy it. It was too complex. People were then had it on delay and then got refunded. The whole promotional side of that event was poor, really poor. And to be honest, Tyson Fury don't help himself, and he don't help his family. Listen, you know my background. You know I come from that stock, right? We constantly want people to think of our type of people differently, right? Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders have a massive platform to change people's opinion, and they don't. They never do. They always portray themselves exactly how people think they are, and that's sad for me. That's sad. Not saying, but stuff that comes out of their mouth, especially Tyson. You know what I mean? And that's got to be hard for the kid, because Fury's a unassuming, lovely young fella. Absolutely nothing about him attitude-wise. Great guy. They're a great family. They're a great family, but when you're given that platform and that stance to change people's opinion on the magnitude they get, especially look at the interviews he did with the IFL TV. What was that all about? If someone really cares about him, put him to one side and say, listen, Tyson, for fuck's sake, for one, grow up. And for one, think about the rest of us. Think about all the other travelling communities in the country and what they think. you know, you might laugh at it the first time round and it's a bit funny. And then later on you think, oh, come on. You know, and it's, you only got to read the comments on YouTube after he's been on there and what people call him. You know, it's disgusting. But they make, you know, he makes a rod for everyone else's back, and I think that's disappointing. I think he's got more of a responsibility. You know, going on, don't blame it on his mental health, because that's bollocks. You know, I suffer from mental health. I understand what makes you tick and what makes you do things, and that's just stupidity making him do that. Or if he's taking something, or if he's not taking something, you know, again, if people care about it, take him to one side. You know, he wants, you know, and the waste. It's just such a waste. He's a fabulous boxing talent, and he's not going to be remembered for what he should be remembered for. And that was being and still is, an incredible boxer with an incredible talent, and somebody that absolutely outboxed Vladimir Klitschko, who, you know, everyone's next hero and, you know, the greatest thing since Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
You know, Joshua went tooth and nail with him, you know, but 2 years or 20 months before it, Klitschko was old, washed up, he's shit. Funny that, isn't it? You know, but the version that AJ fought was a monster.
Of course.
And there you go.
That's the way it's sold. And I said to people, Vladimir Klitschko was sitting on his ass for 2 years, and then he got off his chair and decided to have a fight with Anthony Joshua and drops him. But yet Tyson, who fought him when he was in his, he was beating everybody, Klitschko, and he was around for 10 years. I mean, that Klitschko was old when Tyson fought him, but he was obviously, you know, rejuvenated and younger when he fought. That's Sky, isn't it?
Some special Russian medication.
Absolutely, of course, you know, and that happens, and you know, there's no such thing as old father time and stuff like that. It doesn't happen, you know. Just the same thing with David Hay. Actually, David Hay will never get old, you know. On Sky, David Hay will never get old. He'll never get old.
Listen, this is a guy that other people hail as this incredible boxer, right? He went tooth and nail with Mohamed, right? Absolutely life and death, right? And then he went. Then he fought Valuev. Don't tell me Valuev was a good boxer. All right, he was big. But, and then who else has he beat? You can go, oh yeah, he was prime, or he was this.
Fraudly.
Tell me Derek Chisora, or
fraudly.
You know, yeah, Audley out of bless.
Bless.
But, you know what I mean? He wouldn't hurt a fly, old Audley. You know what I mean? He's a lovely fella. But yeah, David Price, and you know, it's sad. It's sad that everyone else because he's another one that's sort of he believes in his own delusion, because nobody checks him, you know. And listen, if you can't beat Tony Bellew, I'm sorry, you know, Adonis Stevenson absolutely destroyed him, didn't he? He was a tiny little guy.
He did.
Yeah, and he, you know, if Hay can't beat, I mean, the rematch it's almost as farcical as the first fight. And don't get me wrong, I thought Hay was going to destroy Bellew.
So did I.
Can see Bellew beating him again. I can see Bellew beating him again.
That's it's not good, is it?
No, it's not good. And you know, it's fair play. If people want to go out and pay for that, I won't be one that subscribes to paying for it. I couldn't pay for that fight. It's not a pay-per-view fight. It's not a pay-per-view fight. What's it for? It's a blown-up cruiser against a blown-up cruiser. Fighting at heavyweight because they're too lazy to make their ideal weight.
When they should both be in that cruiserweight tournament. Now that would have been interesting.
Oh, that would have been tasty. Well, it's tasty enough anyway, but with them two in it would have been class.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody says, don't wind Chris up for F's sake. I'm mellow. What do you think of this next gen that's on Bethnal Green with the best promoter in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why Eddie gets a lot of stick, but let's look where boxing was, and then you know, listen, I don't like watching some of the shows where, you know, his fighters are 100 to 1 on. You know, I do understand that he's a promoter. He's got to get his fighters. You know, he's got to promote his fighters, and he's got to. But it's far too often now is mismatches. horrible mismatches. They're trying to build a fighter so he can sell him on pay-per-view. That's his job. I totally get that, and he does come in for some unnecessary stick. But he also puts a lot back in, and this next gen is an example of that. Heaven forbid he ever tries making them pay-per-view, but I won't put nothing past him.
It's true.
Like I said, I've known Eddie a lot of years. I've never had a crossword with Eddie. Always been as good as gold with me, as his dad. So it's hard to criticise. Well, I can criticise, and we go to a few dinners together, and I say, "Oh, fucking hell, that car was a bit,
ropey.
I've got to try and get the fighters out. We've got to do this. We've got to do that." And I understand now. A lot of fighters are also as protective over their record. You look years ago, there were guys who would have 70, 80, 90 fights. Some of them would fight twice a week. Some good journeymen. Where a lot of them now, where they see all these fighters making this big money, they want to protect their record. So they're also as guilty as anybody else. I don't fancy this fight, or I can't do this weight, or I can't do that weight. So yeah, it's a bit of 6 of one and half a dozen the other. Like, it's nice that the younger fighters are getting a platform to fight. But I also think and the other flip side of the coin is that they already think they've made it.
Yeah.
I quite like Conor Benn's attitude. He's very grand. He says, "Listen, I don't want to rush in. I don't think I'm this. I don't think I'm that. I'll listen to my trainer. I listen to my pro. That's their job." No, I like that. There's a lot of hype around him. He's earned a lot of money already. But listen, this kid lives on his own. He's away from his family, and he trains hard. You don't hear too many bad stories about kids like him. He keeps his nuts down, and he's trying to learn his trade, and I like that.
What are your thoughts of O'Hara Davis?
He's another one that he ruins it for himself. He's not got enough intelligence for all this banter he tries having, right? You can tell it hurts him. If you want to be one of them type of guys that's gonna have a career where people a bit like a Chris Eubank Senior,
yeah,
right? He had the minerals to take it. Nothing ever phased him. It didn't bother him. He didn't take it personally, and he was mentally strong enough for that. Laura Davis isn't, and I tell you what, if they could, they wouldn't want to change anything about his power. The kid's obviously got power and he can punch, but anybody with a jab who's got a little bit of movement and some pop and can hold a shot beats him at the moment, because all he relies on
the power
is that power and that backhand. That's all he relies on. But listen, the guy can punch. We know now that he ain't got the greatest whiskers in the world, and he ain't got the greatest art in the world. But listen, he's entertained. Do I like him? I wouldn't go for a pint with him. Not from what I've seen of him. You know what I mean? But listen, everybody's talking about him. That's what these kids want nowadays. They don't care if they're loved or hated or admired or respected. They just want them Benjamins, mate. They want to make a lot of money. They want a big profile. They want fast cars and fast bitches, and that's all it is about now. It's fame. People want fame rather than respect.
I've got somebody who doesn't quite know what's going on. I'm sure he hasn't researched your background. But the question is here, without sounding rude, what does a retired darts player know about boxing?
Well, fortunately, I've experienced both sides of the rope. So I boxed. I had 26 amateur fights. I took part in several bare knuckle fights and white collar events. So yeah, I know a little bit about boxing. It's a family thing. I grew up around boxing, and it's my hobby. Okay. I love boxing.
What's your take on when Tyson says he's a fighting man? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, so listen, you get bred that way, and that's true. You do get bred that way. You're surrounded. Listen, when you live on a traveller site or a gypsy site, which are two totally different people.
Wait! Stop right there! Stop right there! That's interesting. You said there's a difference between a traveller and a gypsy. Please break that down for us.
Yeah, massively. The gypsy breed of people come from a totally different background to the traveller type of people. Although they're pretty much compressed into one group of people. yeah, they're totally two different breeds of people. They have different values. You know, like majority. I think Peter Fiore touched on it recently in an interview where he said, like, you know, you get some type of travellers that will plant down on a site and leave it like a shithole.
Yeah, he did it with me.
And, yeah, where gypsies are Romanies, right? They come from Romani background, so they, you know, they would have moved around the country by the, you know, the horse. You know, there's old pictures you see of the, you know, the carriages that they were gypsy. They were Romani people.
Right.
It's totally different to a traveller. Totally different to two totally different types of people too. There's two different types of travelling people, as Peter Fiore was trying to explain. But you grow up around, you grow up around fighting. The male dominance within a traveller's site. You always get, you know, you order the saying "King of the Gypsies." And
yes.
someone just put on there Bartley Gorman, who I was lucky enough to meet on a couple of occasions. Thankfully, never fights. I'd still be out now. So yeah, your dominance is based on your ability to fight. You know, it's not fairly old school. It's fairly basic, but you all have to learn how to fight. They're the rules. There's always boxing gloves. There's always little fights going on all over the place. They encourage the kids to be able to look after themselves, and obviously then you get the tradition of bare knuckle fighting, which I'm sure if you have looked across the internet, you'll see loads of it. There's loads of Irish travelling families that have a huge tradition, and that's what you grow into. So, you know, it's almost surprising that there isn't more boxers that actually that do come from that background that end up doing things like what Tyson and Huey have done.
Jamie Cox fights this weekend. Would you be more likely to support him because he's a guy from your neck of the woods?
Yeah, I don't know a lot. I mean, I know of Jamie, obviously, predominantly for the wrong reasons, but
yeah,
yeah, I've seen like bits of him. I've been to a couple of shows where he was, you know, fighting, you know, a few, you know, 6 rounders or whatever, and I'm amazed. I think initially he was a welterweight. I think he fought 147 pounds.
Yes, and he moves up.
When I started doing some research, I thought it was a different Jamie Cox. To be honest, I thought, well, there's no way the Jamie Cox I sort of can recollect or know a little bit about would be fighting at super middle. But obviously he's grown. He must have grown into the weight. I know he's had lots of spells of inactivity in his career. So, you know, I don't know whether he may not have been boxing during him. Maybe it was weight training. Maybe it's, you know, he's built a bit of muscle. And obviously, you know, as we heard off Dean earlier, he's comfortable at the weight. He's filled out to the weight. You know, years ago we used to see it. People would boil themselves down to a weight to give them the advantage when they rehydrated.
Yes.
You know, and we've seen way too many tragedies, and most of those tragedies were caused by being forced to make weights they shouldn't be making. I'm a great believer you know, you look at Golovkin, right? He's not a big middleweight.
No.
In terms of middleweight, but he's not big enough to fight at 168, and he's probably too big to get anywhere near 154. So he's caught in limbo. So he's fighting at a healthy weight, which is probably why his career has had the longevity it's had. But you know, this is a guy that, you know, had near on 400 fights in total. You know, he had an insane amateur career, only trumped by a few currently active fighters. So no wonder when people say, "Oh, he's going backwards a little bit." Well, he has every right to. You know, he's had a lot of fights, he's had a lot of training camps. But yeah, I'm a great believer if you're comfortable in that weight, and he obviously is. He has the size. He's 5'11". Yeah, I think he'll do okay against Groves. Whether my biggest worry is he's not faced anybody like Groves before. You know, we've talked about this about power. All these MMA lunatics going on about McGregor and Floyd. Listen, punches in boxing are totally different, and punches in boxing are levels as well. You know, there's guys that look great against people when they're matched up pretty evenly, but there's a huge difference between getting punched by a world-class punching boxer to a guy that's had 60 fights but has fought at a much lower level. And the same goes to how they hold a shot. You know, will he be able to hold? Will he have been hit that hard before by somebody as technically, you know, Groves is technically sound. He's basic, but he's technically sound. And as Dean was saying, he fights in straight lines. What he does is good and it's effective, but it's limited.
Yes.
And as we've seen, as soon as someone changes it up around him, he's a little lost. He only has sort of one way. He can't
change.
You know, he can't change his style on the fly. He struggles with adapting a different game plan mid-fight. He doesn't have that, you know, and that, you know, don't get me wrong, that's an elite level business.
See, I have my question marks about Groves because when he fought the Tudor fight, to me, he looked off balance.
He was in trouble in that fight.
He was. He didn't look good at all. He didn't look good from round one. He really didn't.
No, he just found a punch from somewhere, and that was it. I certainly wasn't convinced he was going to win that fight prior to it happening.
No.
And during the fight, he looked lost at times, and he looked limited. You know, and he had a great start. Everybody, you know, his biggest success really is Froch. You know, Froch was a world-class operator, and he started really, really good against Froch. But listen, world-class operator as he is, Froch, he's another one that's pretty basic. He's not hard to hit. Doesn't particularly move very well. He's got a great chin, a great engine, and he can bang. So looking good against Froch really shouldn't be a problem. I mean, Durrell looked good against Froch, didn't he? He got fucking absolutely robbed.
Yeah.
And Froch got totally exposed against Ward. Like, that totally showed his limitation. I mean, great boxer, Froch. You can't have nothing but respect for what he achieved. Tough, hard man. But again, it's levels. And I'm not sure Cox is ready at this time, but he's 30. You know, he's been around a while, and you know, another one. He had a fairly decorated amateur career, but as he left it too late, are we underrating him? Are people around him overrating him? But all these stories that keep coming through, you know, I said earlier, you know, there was a story going around that Fury was done bandy by Joyce before the Parker fight. You know, and I know that come from reliable sources. Most of these stories, they have some substance. And especially sparring stories, and some of the things I hear about what Jamie Cox has done to like some serious high-end fighters in sparring is scary.
So let's talk about a thing about. I heard a story about this Hugh Fury thing. You said that Joe Joyce was sparring Fury.
Yeah.
And what happened? So the story is.
Yeah, well, apparently Joe Joyce was having, you know, a much better part of Fury, and he got to the stage where I mean, this came from a reliable source, so you know, and again, you could probably ask Peter, and he probably would deny it because it's not that's not the kind of thing you want to hear.
Yeah.
Here coming out, I don't know whether I heard Joyce put him over in sparring, so.
Would that do?
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know what modern sparring like. When we used to spar back in the day, you know, you weren't trying to, you know, it was about learning. You weren't trying to decapitate the guy you were sparring with because you were grateful for the round. But nowadays, it's like, you know, this next generation of fighters, they spar like it's a fight.
Do you think that's
not what sparring's all about?
Do you think that could be the reason why Hugh was so tentative? Because he lacked the confidence in his chin, because he'd never been dropped before. I heard in sparring, and he'd never been dropped or hurt before like that. So if Joyce went and
I heard prior that he'd never been over amateur, pro, or in sparring.
That's it. I heard that too.
So if he had been put over for the first time, of course his confidence is going to be shot. He's thinking, well, hang on a minute, big gloves, egg guard, and I got put over. But again, you know, you don't. People sometimes getting put over. It's not the power of the shot; it's the timing. It's your feet position, and it's the angle they've caught you on.
Yeah.
You know, people seem to get flash knockdowns. That's exactly what they are. But if he's gone over in sparring and he's starting to second guess himself, and we know, you know, Parker does have a reputation of having a bit of a dig on him. Maybe that's what caused him to be so tentative and such low output, because he didn't want to leave himself exposed. It's
interesting because Stavern was sparring with Joe Joyce, and he said he sparred with Joe Joyce, but he said I wouldn't fast track Joe Joyce, in my opinion, and he was sparring with Joe Joyce.
Everybody who's gone anywhere near Joe Joyce has said this kid needs fast tracking. So he must be doing something right, and especially if you're sparring with, Stavern's he's a quality operator. He's been around the ring a long time. I remember watching him back 2006, 2007. So he's been around a while, Stavern. And if Stavern is holds him in high regard, then that tells you all we need to know about Joe Joyce.
Okay. So on to the point of Stavern and Wilder. I think you may have heard my conversation about Stavern and Wilder and potentially Wilder overlooking Stavern. What's your take on this Stavern Wilder situation?
I was actually amazed. I was listening to an interview the other day that Wilder did. He never does road work. He never does any road work. Hence the reason why he must have legs like spindles. And how he generates all them powers off them little pin legs is remarkable. But he's another one. Eventually, he will get found out. He will get exposed. Is Stavern the Stavern that I enjoyed watching? Had very fast hands, lovely left hook, moved really well, looked for angles. Not the biggest heavyweight in the world, but for me, he's always looked like he's lacked conditioning. I don't want people to think, I don't want them all to look like Anthony Joshua, because really that's a negative.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis for me had the perfect physique for a heavyweight boxer, as did Muhammad Ali. Long muscles, not bulked, so they don't eat up all too much energy. They don't fatigue easy. And if you look at Wilder, though he's tall, he's not like a massive guy, but he's bulked, and he's chinny. He's chinny. He's got dodgy whiskers. He will eventually get found out. Is Stavern the man? And listen, if he overlooks him and thinks it's going to be an easy fight, anything can happen. Look at Lennox Lewis and Oliver McCall, and Rackman.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Rackman. He was filming
Ocean's 11.
some Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he totally overlooked him and got found out. I mean, that could happen. That could happen. And trust me, when fighters get exposed and people realise that if they go after him and they hit him on the chin, they got dodgy whiskers. Roy Jones being a perfect example. When Roy Jones first got put out, do you think Enzo Maccarinelli would have fought Roy Jones the way he fought him if he didn't know he had his whiskers that started to fade?
You're right. Before Roy Jones got knocked out by Tava, nobody wanted to go anywhere near Roy Jones. Then as soon as he got chinned, then Glenn Johnson joined in. Everyone joined in to let's knock Roy Jones out. It became a knock Roy Jones out party.
When Dillian White and Joshua fought, right, and White tagged him and put him on Queer Street for a good 20-30 seconds, right? Listen, that's what that Klitschko fancied the job. He knew if he caught him, he could put him away. He did the job, caught him, and then backed off of him like he didn't want to win the fight. I've watched that fight. I've watched it recently, and I just can't get my head around the fact that why has he sat off of him and let him recover?
Because Vitali told him don't go in for the kill. He'll tire later on in the fight.
Crazy, absolutely madness. That fight was there to win. But trust me, everybody that will get in the ring now with Joshua, right? They'll look for one thing: tagging that chin. And it's the ultimate prize in sport. It's life changing. Everybody who fights now will look at that and think, if I catch him on them whiskers, he will go over, and he will go over. From amateur days, from sparring stories. Listen, he's even done an interview recently saying that of course I'm going to get beat. And ultimately he will, but he'll be one of them fighters that will look at it and think, yeah, I'm gonna go after it. I'm gonna really go after him. And if I get knocked out in the process, listen, you're not gonna beat Joshua Long. You're not gonna beat him on the back. You're not gonna beat him long. He's too big, too strong. He's too direct. His fundamentals are sound, and he'll just hold you off because he's too strong. But you put him on the back foot and attack him, what's he going to do? Where's he going to go? He's not going to know, because he doesn't understand that, because all he's been fed so far, apart from the two greatest fighters he's faced so far, White and an old guy that was way past his sell-by date 2 years prior when Fury beat him. That doesn't hold you in good stead to start fighting, your Wilders or You know, I mean, actually, who is out there heavyweight at the minute? You know, that's the thing. It's limited now that Fury's gone. Who is out there for Joshua?
I think they'll line up Joseph Parker next.
Yeah, Joseph Parker. My God, frightening, absolutely frightening, isn't it? But people will buy into that. Oh, it'll be a close fight. He'll do this, he'll do that. Listen, Joshua ends that fight when he wants. Listen, there's no taking away the guy. The guy is a supreme athlete with decent fundamentals and absolutely explosive power and fast hands.
Yes.
And he can put shots together. I mean, he's a great finisher. If he has you going, he will finish you. But you know, we hope for this new generation of heavyweights, and it's just not. You know, Fury opened it all up for everybody. You know, he stops one person. You know, holding all the belts. Unfortunately, it's now Wilder. All this shit that Joshua's dodging Wilder. I'm not having that. What's Wilder got that Joshua can't deal with?
Just that right hand, I'd say. That's it.
That's it. And if he circles him anti-clockwise, listen, I'd be more worried about listen, Wilder's basic.
I've said it.
Basic. And he telegraphed. He tells you he's going to throw that shot. Don't get me wrong. He must punch hard, but you know how hard. You know, as long as AJ avoids it, and that's like any fighter. I think the first fighter Wilder faces that actually puts it on him, who can hold a shot, who knows how to rotate him anti-clockwise to take away that backhand, he gets beat.
A lot of people. There are a lot of repeaters in this world, a lot of sheep in this world. They repeat what everyone else says. And I try not to go down that route. I don't go down the copy and paste route. I don't like stealing off of what other people's interviews. So I do it my own way. So my best way is to talk to the people that are involved. Now, one of the things people said, and there were loads of people said it, Wilder Stavern, it's not going to happen because of the TV, the broadcasters, they don't want to see the fight. So, okay, fine. You believe that. Where did you get your information from? Well, I read it off a boxing forum. Okay, where did you get that information from? I read it off a boxing forum. I said, okay. Oh, Stavern, you know, he failed the drugs test. He got popped for drugs. Really? Where did you get that information from? Now, I'm looking at the information on my pad. I'm looking at my information. I'm looking at the emails. I'm looking at certain information. I'm looking at things that have been signed and documents, actual official documents signed. In my head, I'm watching, and I'm listening to these people on over Twitter. I'm looking at these people, you know, on the chat, and I'm just flicking through. And I'm looking at stuff. I'm thinking, okay, this is an official document. This is an official document, and you people are telling me something totally different to what I'm reading here. So a lot of people will repeat things, and it's like the common things I hear about Stavern. First thing I heard about Stavern, oh, he hasn't fought in over 2 years, and the last fight he had was against Derek Rossi. Oh, Stavern doesn't deserve to be fighting in the mandatory. Oh, Stavern's going to get knocked out early because he's going to get knocked out because Wilder is a better fighter since the first fight. I think, well, how do you work that logic out? The first fight they fought, he couldn't knock him out, and in the first fight, Stavern was A, dehydrated, and B, wasn't fit. You can go back and look. I looked at the pre-fight build-up on Showtime, and his face was as fat as anything. I said, what kind of condition is that for a heavyweight? I know that he's in better shape now than he was, and the fight before the fight was announced, he's in better shape now than he was when he was actually world heavyweight champion. And since then, go ahead.
And he knows now what he's up against.
Exactly.
He's not going to fight an improved version of Wilder, but he can be an improved version of what he was. Because as you said, he wasn't fit. He wasn't in shape to fight. And he can improve, but Wilder can.
That's the thing. People are looking. And the other thing is, I don't think Wilder's become a better fighter. I think he's a worse fighter because of the injuries. You can't keep having those injuries with your hand and your arm and all, and be a better fighter from those injuries. I don't believe that. That's codswallop. You get worse, or you have to readjust, and that doesn't make you the same fighter as you was back then. And
I've never known a fighter improve through inactivity.
There you go. So when you look at that, people say, well, when I look at the Stavern that's coming in to fight Wilder now, his whole team has changed. He now has James Prince in his corner, which I think is a major key point. To have James Prince in your corner, of course, James Prince doesn't fight for you, but the mental aspect and having such a big player who can stand and look at Al Heyman eye to eye, you know, in terms of business, that's a key thing. Those are all key components. People won't talk about those things. People will just repeat what other people have said, but they won't break it down that way. What are your thoughts on these things?
From what I know about Stavern, obviously I don't know him personally, but you know, you listen to interviews. He's a bit of a free spirit, and he will respond to having a disciplinarian in his corner. You know, there's certain fighters that need to look at someone and believe in them and be guided by them and know that they're not going to take your shit. You know, and I think that, as you said, that's a massive plus side for him. I think if he comes into the fight and he's trained hard, he's healthy, and obviously fit, he has a chance. He has a chance. I can't, like I said, how can Wilder improve through inactivity and being fed tomato cans? I don't, you know what I mean? What's he learning from that? And he will flap. Listen, fighters don't change that much, right? You can't. Listen, if you've got a suspect chin, that's just some kind of genetic thing. That's why some fighters, Golovkin, for example, right?
Yes.
Born blessed with a great chin and great power, but that's not an often combination. Most people who have a lot of pop usually have suspect chins, right? So the first time look how he reacted when Sconiers caught him on the chin, and there was another guy, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, had him absolutely dizzy. How does he respond? By flailing. Now, if you're fighting an experienced guy like Stavern, who can finish, and you get hurt, you're not going to allow him to hold on. You're going to move. You're going to literally just try and take his head off, but in a controlled manner. You know, Sconiers just, well, apart from the ref helping him out at the same time as well. Once he had him hurt, he didn't know what to do with it. But Stavern ain't that kind of animal. Stavern's a killer. If he gets you going, he will finish you.
There's a lot of bad blood in this fight coming into rematch. And why do you think people are so dismissive of Stavern, in your opinion?
I think because the few losses he had. I mean, he had that one loss, that one loss early on where it was a bit it was bad reffing, if I remember right. The referee stopped the fight when, you know, for me it was stopped too early. You could see by their reaction. You can always see off the fighter's reaction when it stopped.
Yeah.
They instantly put their arms up and say, "What are you doing?" You know that they're not hurt.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it was just the nature and the fact that I think people overrate Wilder. You know, they look at his record, was it 37 fights, 36 knockouts?
Yes.
But I don't look at records, I look at opposition. I don't mind a loss on someone's record if they've been matched hard. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a loss on your record. If you've been matched hard early on or overmatched, listen, you're going to take a loss. You know, does it matter? No, not really. Look at Chris Eubank Jr. He took a loss against Billy Joe. Who's improved? They fought tomorrow. Who would win, Billy Joe or Chris Eubank Jr.? Eubank Jr. for me.
Eubank Jr. for me too.
Because Billy Joe's, you know, he's regressed. He hasn't progressed. I think he looked in much better condition in his last fight, but the fight before that, he was awful.
I didn't think he looked great in his last fight, though.
No, not great. Certainly better fight prior to that one.
Yeah.
But you know, Ingles Gym's all about conditioning. You know, they're like conditioning mad. You know, it's all S and C work. You know, it's the technical side of things. You only got to listen. We were talking about Jamie Cox, so we're having a little look on the internet to see what I can find. And there's a training session there with him and Kell Brook.
Yeah.
They had a spar. It's only a short bit of footage. You only got to listen to the direction he's getting. You know, it's not. You know, and the same with Sam Egerton the other night. You know, I like his cornerman, but he was giving terrible advice in that fight. You know, and if they didn't do their own work, that guy fights the same every time. Spins off, right hand, spin off, right hand, spin off. Well, they obviously didn't watch that because his feet were constantly in the wrong place. He was moving them around the ring in the wrong direction. And they're basic stuff which they should have had mapped out. That kid's, you know, he's not an unbeaten, you know, Nazim Ahmed type style of fighter. You know, I mean, he's barely cute at what he does, but he's basically got 2 losses on his record. He was small. He had no pop. And again, that's all about instruction and doing your own work. And going back to Stavern, he's been in there. He's shared a ring with him. He's felt his power. He's seen how he moves. And he knows if he did what he did against him in that fight when he was nowhere near in any way, shape, or form should have been there, he got every chance. But you know, because it's easy. Listen, it's predictable. Yeah, of course, Wilder wins easy. Yeah, of course, Joshua wins easy. You know, it's easy to just go, well, yeah, they should win. They're favourites to win. But you know, I tend to look at, you know, and it's not everyone thinks you're a smart ass when you go, and you know, you might get 1 pick out of 20 where you pick the underdog and go, yeah, you know, I picked Egginton to stop that kid on Saturday night.
Right.
You know, I could see there's no, you know, and I don't back with I back with my money. You know, I wager on boxing.
Right.
So my reaction is a disappointment. Not that, listen, the fact that I got it wrong, they got it wrong. You know, after 5 or 6 rounds, there was no instruction from that corner that should have been coming out, and that's poor. You know, that's poor. That's, you know, I just don't understand. And with Prince in Stavern's corner, who knows? You know, maybe that could be the difference.
Okay. Saunders versus Lemieux has been ordered by the WBO. What do you think of that fight?
That's a great fight. I like Lemieux. I'm a big fan. He reminds me of a bit of a Brandon Rios in his prime. He's a straight up guy, the brawlers, the hard man, they're tough. I thought his fight with Golovkin was superb. You know, and that was pretty much a prime Golovkin there he was facing for me.
Yeah.
I think that's a great fight. I think it's a tough fight for Saunders. I don't think Saunders hits hard enough to keep Lemieux off. Lemieux's a busy fighter. He's got big output. And we know Billy Joe Saunders suffers with fighters with angles and output. Yeah, that's a tough fight. I wouldn't have my money on either of them with any kind of conviction.
It's good. That's a damn good fight. I would lean to, for me, I'd lean to Lemieux, to be honest, on this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shy of just edging Lemieux. Like I said, I think Billy Joe's regressed from, you know, the fight. You know, it's a great fight with Andy Lee. Great performance as well. He fought well against Eubank, but Eubank didn't get going for, you know, the first 6 rounds. He pretty much let Billy Joe do what he wanted to, and then the next 6 you give most of them to Eubank. I've watched that fight a few times. I've scored it, you know, close every time. You know, just one day you can just about edge it to Billy Joe, the next you can call it a draw. Yeah, I think I like the fact that Billy Joe's now his conditioning sorted out and he's looking after himself. But yeah, Lemieux's a tough fight and a lot on the line for Lemieux. You know what I mean? It's everything. You can tell with Lemieux, it means everything to him. Sometimes with Billy Joe, you're not sure whether he really cares that much.
I'm going to close with this, and it's a question I'm going to ask, which back to darts to close. I don't know that much about darts, but in terms of demographics, how many Caribbean or African players actually play darts or at world level?
Well, there's a girl called Dita Hedman. She's from Jamaica, and she came over with her family and her brother Al Hedman, Al Hedman won the British Open, which is a massive tournament.
Right.
And Dita is like a multiple champion. She's won everything except the Worlds, and that just seems to be her. I don't know. It's her bogey tournament. She just doesn't find her feet there. But yeah, the Afro-Caribbean is very big. Darts is massive. You know, they've been over to Jamaica to do like promotional tours.
Right.
There was one guy from Jamaica who qualified for the Worlds a couple of years back. I can't remember his name. It's very hard because they don't have the system there.
Right.
You know, in the majority of in America, they mainly play electronic darts, which is soft hit darts. It's really popular in Asia.
Right.
And dart, but the point, instead of being steel, it's made of plastic, and it goes into this board that basically records everything. You can, it's got a camera on it and a monitor. It does all your scores for you, and you can play people. You can link up and play people all around the world on it. You have like a key fob that gives you a ranking and a rating, and then you'll get matched against players who are waiting for a game anywhere in the world. It's huge in Asia, massive, much bigger than sort of conventional darts. But in most European countries, they have a platform. They have leagues, Super League, so they have much more opportunities to play. Where in a lot of countries, America again, it's very soft tip orientated. They have a bullshit in Vegas where thousands of people turn up to play in it. So yeah, unfortunately, in certain countries they just don't have the system in place to play the game and get good enough to basically make a career out of it. Where obviously with Dita and her brother coming over from Jamaica, they moved to London, and of course London was, that was the original hotbed of darts with that in Yorkshire. So they have many opportunities to learn their trade, which they went on and done. And Dita's an ambassador for the sport. She's been ranked number one in the world on countless occasions. And like I said, the only one event that eludes her is the World Championships, but she has another crack at that in January, and I wouldn't be surprised if she won it.
Okay. I'm going to ask one more final question I was about to ask you, and it was to do with boxing. Like, I can't remember that's it. Dennis Hobson, the return of Dennis Hobson this Friday on Free Sports. Your thoughts on that?
I love the Free Sports platform. I think that's great. I know we're at in darts, the BDO. I try to push them towards that channel because it's free. It's easy to get. I think anybody who's got a free view box on the smart TV, you can watch it for nothing. Or if you've got Virgin or Sky or whatever. And I think it's a good move. I'm not sure of how deep stable the fighters are, but if he does the right kind of numbers and he's got a good contract and they can sort of do something with the broadcast rights, who knows? It's he knows the industry. The fighters don't have any problems, fighting on his shows. And he only got to find one star. That's all they need. They only got to find one guy that comes through the system and comes through the ranks, and there's a genuine contender, and get someone on board that will give him the money to. Well, probably I know he has his own money, but you know what I mean. To make some of these big fights, if he found a heavyweight, or a great super middle, the real popular divisions. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I should be watching it for sure. Met Dennis a couple of times. Nice guy, get on with him well. As I said, most of them are good as gold. Always been very accommodating. But again, like we spoke of right at the top of the show, he's got a card on and he tweets it. And you just do your bit. Something you're interested in. Everybody just spend a couple of think about it that are in the industry. Promote it. Listen, the more people promote it, the more fights are there, the more chance we've got to see great fights. And if you're a fight fan, surely that's all you want to see.
Do you have any thoughts on Sam Sheedy versus Liam Cameron?
Not really. That's the fight on Friday night?
Yes, that's the main event.
Yeah, no, not really, mate. Not a lot. Not a lot. I would know a lot about.
Okay.
Who's favourite to fight?
Well, I don't know. To be honest, I know Sam Sheedy would be the favourite, being the champion and everything, but Liam Cameron may pose a good opposition, coming down from super middleweight down to middleweight. Maybe that physical strength may tell. Who knows? Is Sam going to be able to outbox him for 12 rounds? Is Liam going to be able to land the big punch? I don't know.
Yeah, I was sort of watching a conversation on Twitter about the fight earlier on this afternoon, and someone pretty much said exactly the same thing. Where he's coming down away, will he be able to keep him off for the 12 rounds, or will the size and the
Absolutely, absolutely. Hopefully, I look forward to working with Dennis Hobson on Free Sports as well. I'm looking forward to doing some stuff with him. So,
good stuff, mate. Yeah, that'd be good.
Should be
That'd
fun.
be good. Like I said, he's always been accommodating, and he understands the game. He understands how it works promotional wise. So it's some promoters think that they don't need to worry about us small guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's very true. Very true word said. Chris Mason, thank you so much for being on BWTM Sports. It's been another fantastic conversation we've had. Learned so much more about the sport of darts, and engaging with you in the sport of boxing, and just general straight talking. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, mate. And thanks for all the people that. Sorry we didn't get a chance to answer all their questions, but thank you for those that sort of stuck by and listened in and engaged with us.
Yes, it was many questions, and I think we've done more than that. I think we've almost done 2 hours, Chris. Do you know that?
Yes, we have. Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely, Chris Mason. Do you have anything? Oh, how do people follow you, Chris?
At Chris180 Mason on Twitter. I'm not really a Facebooker, but I'm on Instagram, but I don't use it very often. But yeah, my main outlet is at Chris180 Mason on Twitter.
I'm going to hold you to that thing about the darts, by the way, because I really want to get to meet some darts players. And
I will email you my diary over so you know where I am. If you're within a sensible distance to come down, we'll definitely hook up and I'll give you a day at the darts, give you a tour of the darts behind the scenes and get to know a few of the guys and see how it goes.
Wow, I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much. Once again, Chris Mason from the world of darts and boxing. Thanks, Chris. So there you have it. Another exclusive, bringing the big names to BWTM Sports. I really hope you've enjoyed these interviews, and I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a heavy night, an absolute heavy night. We had Dean Edwards previewing, the manager of Jamie Cox previewing his guys' chances, and then he gave us his preview of Sam Sheedy versus Lynn Cameron, and then we had an extraordinary interview with Chris Mason talking about the world of boxing, media, darts, the lot. We covered it all. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments. I did have to answer one question before I end. It was by a gentleman who asked me the question about something to do with me doing cricket coaching. Man, listen, I've coached from grassroots level right through to international level coaching cricket. And he said, did I coach in English? Like, did I coach in East London? Well, considering I did spend some time in East London, I was born in Hackney. I spent time in Forest Gate. So East London, I did spend some time in. Played cricket at Claymore Cricket Club. That was the club. That was with Adrian Rollins. Nasser Hussein's father used to coach me for many years. Joe Hussein. Was in did the captaincy for a while. Played district cricket. Went to 2 trials, Essex. Sometimes you get family that back you and family that don't back you. My situation was my dad never kind of allowed me to get to the trial, so I had to make my own way there. And looking back, I think I could have done a lot more as a player, but as a coach, I think I made up for that bags in terms of coaching. Successful of all the teams that I coached, whether they be winning trophies at Lords or building a community team up from no youth players right through to building a club with over 200 players down in Buckinghamshire, becoming national community champion in 2010-11, running 3 academies across the southeast, from Slough to High Wycombe and Marlow, and then across in Gravesend as well. So there's 3 academies I had running at one point, and I don't drive, so it was all trained and producing guys to play from grassroots cricket right through to playing district and county cricket. Had 12-year-old playing under 14s cricket, so that will tell you the sort of level of coaching I was doing. Then when I was in London working at Middlesex, I was their head coach at one point, working at Lords, doing their open days when they used to have young people come and play cricket on kids for free when England would have the international matches. Then I used to worked at Kent as well, did a lot of work there internally for them, did coaching with them as well for Kent County Cricket Board. Met a lot of the Australian players when they came over. So I've done a lot, worked with a few international players. So I've done a lot. And then obviously I worked with my cousin, Nelon Pascal, who played for Grenada. I actually coached the Grenadian national side when I was at Grenada for a little while. It was nice. So yeah, there's been a lot of coaching I've done. But I've got to say my best time at coaching, I have to say, had to be Little Marlow Cricket Club, because I was allowed to do what I needed to do as a coach. I was able to express myself. Often you go to a lot of these clubs, they are very stuck in their ways, even if it's their ways that are causing their team to collapse and have less people coming to their club. What ends up happening is that they want to stick in the same regiment of ways. I can't work it like that. So over the 4-year period I was at Little Marlow, we had no young players at the club. It's going to be one of the best clubs in Buckinghamshire and winning the league under 12s. When I started, we had no young players. When I finished and I left the club, we had players under 10s, under 11s, under 12s, under 13s, under 14s, under 15s, under 16s, under 17s. There you go. And those players, a lot of those young players now are now playing adult cricket. And a lot of players now that I can say that young boys are now playing men's cricket and are playing some very good level cricket as well. So I'm kind of proud of the stuff I've done in cricket. Maybe at some point in time I may visit it again. But for now, I think I'm quite happy where I'm at in the sport of boxing. I'm enjoying it, and enjoying the joys of being in media, enjoying the sport of cricket, enjoying the sport of boxing now. Having worked in the Frank Bruno Boxing Academy, being a part of that, doing boxing for schools, having boxed myself, it's good, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing the commentary. I'm enjoying doing the interviews. I'm enjoying talking to the fighters. I'm enjoying mixing up with the best in the world in terms of their knowledge and their wisdom and what they bring to the sport. I'm enjoying the whole thing. So it's a sports channel, and I'm enjoying it. And I thank BWTM for giving me the opportunity to do these things. I get paid for it, but I enjoy it. But there you go. That's the end of it. Thank you so much. We hope you have enjoyed these interviews. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have enjoyed the interviews. I hope you've enjoyed the shows. Continue to support BWTM. Tell your friends about it. Tell the dog about it. Tell your cats about it. Let's get some more subscribers. Let's start making some new noise. Okay, let's try getting these subscribers up. I'm out of here. I'm exhausted. Take care. Thank you so much again. I appreciate you all. Have a great night.